Chapter 3806. Ding Yan's opponent was a proper middle-level divine king. The Tianlong clan's disciple selection test was divided into 3 different age groups. But the hidden dragon competition was not divided into age groups. Everyone participated together. Among them, there was no lack of existences close to 10,000 years old. And Ding Yan's current opponent was a young genius from a God King level force. He was over 9,000 years old and a middle God King. He had comprehended a triple profound fusion and multiple dual profound fusion. Moreover, he possessed the power of bloodline. He had fought 2 battles before and won both battles with ease. Now, it was his 3rd battle. Lower God King? Although Ding Yan didn't appear in the qualifier, there were so many people in the qualifier that it was impossible to remember everyone's face. Moreover, the other party was a participant in the first round of the qualifier, so it wasn't strange for him to find Ding Yan unfamiliar. At this moment, he did not underestimate Ding Yan just because his divine sense detected that Ding Yan was a lower God King. In the past few days, he had been carefully watching the hidden dragon competition. The first round was fine, but in the second round, he had an impression of everyone who went on stage. But he had no impression of the person in front of him. In other words, this was the first time Ding Yan had gone on stage. And as Ding Yan's opponent's expression turned serious, many people also discovered this point. He is a lower God King? He only went on stage now? It looks like he is very strong. I have no impression of him in the selection test. In the crowd, there was no lack of people who had participated in the 3rd round of the selection test. They had no impression of Ding Yan. This was because they had an impression of all the people who went on stage later. Those people's strength was not ordinary. A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes. I never thought that Ding Yan would be able to reach this step, Murong Suifeng muttered to himself. His tone carried a bit of a sigh. You know him? Sensing Murong Suifeng's gaze, the hidden fog sect master Qian Yin was startled. He looked at Ding Yan and asked. According to the rules of the hidden dragon competition, this youth had only gone on stage now. This meant that his strength had obtained the approval of the Tianlong clan's inner sect elders. Otherwise, they wouldn't have arranged for him to go on stage now. The weaker people were arranged to go on stage early on. Moreover, those who were eliminated rarely went on stage again, unless he performed well and was underestimated. In short, although the rules of the hidden dragon competition couldn't be considered to be extremely fair, after all, it was completely up to the 10 Tianlong clan inner sect elders to judge the strength of the contestants. Of course, everyone knew in their hearts that although there were only 10 Tianlong clan inner sect elders holding the fort, the Tianlong clan's black dragon elder Lan Yushan, who was in charge of the hidden dragon competition, and the 2 white dragon elders behind him, would definitely not allow the 10 inner sect elders to act recklessly. Under these circumstances, the 10 inner sect elders of the Tianlong clan would naturally not be mistaken about a battle between a group of God Kings. Unless you don't want to reveal your true strength until you're defeated. There's nothing you can do about it. You're the one who doesn't want to climb up. You can't blame anyone. 20 years ago, he was a 10-star student of the Hidden Fog Academy. He suddenly dropped out of the academy and disappeared without a trace. We only met again a few days ago at the Flame Dragon Arena. Murong Suifeng sighed. Almost at the instant Murong Suifeng's voice fell, Ding Yan's opponent, a middle divine king, had already made his move. He used his full strength right from the start. He didn't hold back at all. The profundities of the laws merged into his divine power and were released through the middle divine artifact. At the same time, his bloodline power also extended out at the right time. On the other hand, on Ding Yan's side, Ding Yan casually took out an 8-foot-long spear from his storage ring. Although it was called a spear, it was actually more like a spear. As a blood-red light flashed on his body, his divine power instantly skyrocketed. It seemed to have surpassed the boundary of a lower divine king and reached the level of a middle divine king. Then, the violent power of flames swept out from the spear like a fire dragon and met his opponent's ferocious attack. Ding Yan's opponent specialized in the law of water. Under normal circumstances, water was the bane of fire. However, this was only in the case where the 2 powers were of equal strength. When the flames were strong enough, they could also evaporate water. Under everyone's gaze, Ding Yan's attack destroyed his opponent's power and severely injured him. The entire process was as smooth as flowing water. It was frighteningly fast. The fusion of two profundities of the law of fire. Ding Yan's display of strength had shocked many people. With the cultivation of a lower-level God King, he had defeated a middle-level God King opponent with one strike. Ding Yan was the first person to achieve this since the beginning of the Hidden Dragon competition. A lower Divine King is actually so powerful? The difference in strength is too great, isn't it? It seems that the inner sect elders of the Tianlong clan have misjudged him. Perhaps this young man held back his strength during the sect entrance examination. That's why people underestimated his strength. Ding Yan, a lower Divine King, defeated a medium Divine King opponent in an instant. His momentum was like a rainbow, attracting the attention of everyone present. Impressive. Duan Lingtian's lips curled into a smile. Ho Qingning and Murong Yingyue at the side were in a daze. Knowing Ding Yan's strength was not ordinary and witnessing Ding Yan explode with power and defeat his opponent in an instant were two completely different concepts. It's a high divine artifact. Looks like this young man's background is not ordinary. At the same time, many people recognized that the 8-foot-long spear in Ding Yan's hand was a high divine artifact. Otherwise, with his strength, even if he could defeat his opponent, it would not be so easy. At this moment, even the 10 Tianlong clan inner sect elders present looked at each other in dismay. Revered Elder Sikong's nephew is so strong? Looks like we still underestimated him. If we knew he was so strong, we wouldn't have let him go on stage so early. A lower Divine King has such strength. Moreover, he seems to be less than 3,000 years old. There aren't many existences like this in the sect. I heard that his fire element laws were improved in the Law Room in the last 10 years. Even so, if his comprehension ability is insufficient, it would be very difficult to improve the fire element laws to such an extent in such a short period of time. However, the sect really gives revered Elder Sikong preferential treatment. The time Ding Yan stayed in the Law Room, even if the 10 of us combined, it wouldn't be as long as him, right? Don't speak nonsense. If the sect leader finds out, even if you don't die, you'll lose a layer of skin. He respects revered Elder Sikong very much. Many people even say that revered Elder Sikong might be the sect leader's elder or something. As the 10 Tianlong clan inner sect elders communicated privately via voice transmission, the gazes they looked at Ding Yan with became somewhat unfathomable. He's Ding Yan. Revered Elder Sikong asked for the inner sect disciple slot this time for him. The Tianlong clan's Black Dragon Elder, Lan Yushan, asked in a voice that only the two people behind him could hear. Yes, Elder Lan. Dongfang Yannian answered in a timely manner. He's a good seedling. Lan Yushan nodded, as expected of the Divine Emperor's descendant. Hearing Lan Yushan's words, he obviously knew that Ding Yan's father was the Divine Emperor. Ding Yan returned victorious. Murong Yingyue congratulated him, but Ho Qingning looked at Ding Yan gloomily. He didn't expect that Ding Yan, who was weaker than him in the past, would be so strong now, leaving him in the dust. Looks like I really have to work hard on my cultivation. Otherwise, Ding Yan will only leave me further and further behind. Ho Qingning sighed in his heart. Duan Lingtian is one thing. He's a monster. If I don't compete with him, Ding Yan still has a chance to catch up. As long as I can rise in the Tianlong clan, it's not impossible for me to catch up to Ding Yan with the Tianlong clan's resources. Ho Qingning's eyes were filled with anticipation. Ding Yan, looks like these Tianlong clan elders don't understand your strength. Duan Lingtian smiled. Next, you'll probably have to wait for a while before you can go on stage again. They don't know my strength. Letting me go on stage at this time is already giving my Uncle Sikong a lot of face. Duan Lingtian, let's not talk about me. With your strength, I'm afraid you'll only be able to go on stage tomorrow. Ding Yan shook his head. That 10,000 demon sect's Du Qianjun is going on stage. At the same time, Ho Qingning's voice sounded, causing Duan Lingtian, who had already turned his gaze away from the stage, to look over once more. He saw that the 10,000 demon sect's core disciple, Du Qianjun, was going on stage. Du Qianjun hadn't gone on stage before. His comprehension of the laws wasn't weak. In addition, he had recently broken through to become a mid-level God King, so his strength had risen to another level. In addition to his good performance in the qualifiers, he hadn't gone on stage until now. I wonder how senior brother Wu Feng is doing now. Seeing Du Qianjun again, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but think of the trip to the divine treasury left behind by divine emperor Qin Wu. He thought of the hidden fog sect's inner sect disciple, Wu Feng, who had gone into the divine treasury with him. Du Qianjun wasn't weak. However, his opponent was also a first-timer. He was also a disciple of a god emperor-level sect. After 100 moves, he defeated Du Qianjun and won the first battle. After Du Qianjun was defeated, his expression naturally turned ugly. At this time, the onlookers even whispered that he wasn't as good as his elder brother Du Pujuan. They said that his parents had given birth to a dragon and a worm. Duan Lingtian was so angry that he glared at those whispering people. He almost rushed up and fought with his life. Of course, he didn't dare to be presumptuous in such an occasion. Moreover, those whispering people were basically people with status and background. They weren't afraid of him. They talked among themselves and completely ignored him. Another day passed. After Ding Yin went on stage again and defeated his opponent in more than 30 moves, Duan Lingtian finally went on stage. Before this, Du Pujuan, a core disciple of the Million Demon sect, and Hua Tiandu, the young lord of the Donghua clan, had gone on stage one after another and defeated their opponents. Master Duan, I've heard a lot about you. Duan Lingtian's opponent was a young man in a light blue robe. He had a medium build and a delicate face. He looked quite harmless. However, his opponent's identity wasn't simple either. He was one of the strongest people in the younger generation of the Feng family, a god emperor-level family. He was the nephew of the current head of the Feng family, Feng Wenxiao. Feng Wenxiao was also a famous person. Although he wasn't as famous as Hua Tiandu, he wasn't far off. Chapter 3807. This was not the first time Feng Wenxiao had made a move. If you want to read the entire edition for free, please go to Baidu search. Before he met Duan Lingtian, he had already fought with others and defeated them in 3 moves. He was a high-level god king, skilled in the law of metal, and had a high-grade divine artifact in his hand. He had defeated his opponent with ease. Clearly, his strength had been underestimated to a certain extent. Young Master Feng, I've heard a lot about you. In the face of Feng Wenxiao's politeness, although Duan Lingtian wanted to end this duel as soon as possible, he still nodded politely at Feng Wenxiao and greeted her. As soon as Duan Lingtian returned Feng Wenxiao's greeting, the divine energy that she had been accumulating in her body suddenly surged out. Dazzling golden light instantly covered the surface of his body. Then, a layer of blood-red light flashed on his body. It was the power of his bloodline that had been activated and integrated into the dazzling divine power. Buzz! A solid golden saber ray that was like a bright moon slashed toward Duan Lingtian. Wherever it passed, it caused the void to tremble as though it would be slashed apart at any time. Feng Wenxiao's attack was swift and decisive. It was unexpected. Most of the onlookers did not even have time to react. It seems that Feng Wenxiao treats Duan Lingtian as a great enemy. He actually attacked Duan Lingtian while attracting Duan Lingtian's attention. Looking at his methods, he is much stronger than when he defeated his previous opponent. Those who had regained their senses at lightning speed could see Feng Wenxiao's intention. He wanted to catch Duan Lingtian off guard and defeat him. He's probably using all his strength now. He's just a mid-level god king. Is there a need for him to go so far? Even the core disciple of the Thousand Demon sect, Du Pujuan, said that he was not confident in defeating Duan Lingtian. Do you think there's a need for him to go so far? Feng Wenxiao's strength may not be comparable to Du Pujuan's. Even if he can't compare, the difference isn't that big. The difference isn't that big. He still can't compare to someone that even Du Pujuan is not confident in defeating. How can he be so confident? He's very smart. He grabbed the best opportunity. Among the onlookers, some felt that Feng Wenxiao was despicable, but only a small minority. Most of them felt that Feng Wenxiao was smart and knew how to judge the situation. One had to know that when Feng Wenxiao's previous attack, he was not so unexpected. He was completely waiting for his opponent to make the first move before he attacked. He was extremely graceful, but now he had completely changed his style, as if he was a completely different person. Duan Ling Tian is too strong. It's reasonable for him to do this. If I were him, I would do the same. That's what you should do. Now, most of the onlookers, Duan Ling Tian, seeing Fang Wenxiao suddenly attack Duan Ling Tian, Ding Yan, Ho Qingning, and Murong Inua all had ugly expressions. Ho Qingning couldn't help but curse, despicable and shameless. However, the Linghu family's three great elders were calm at this time. It was so much so that Linghu Huan, the fat old man, even looked at Fang Wenxiao with a somewhat playful gaze. This brat Ling Tian wanted to trick him? He probably hadn't woken up yet. Even if he couldn't sense Duan Ling Tian's divine strength, Linghu Huan wasn't worried at all. This was because he had already discovered that Duan Ling Tian had 99 heaven veins. His divine strength could be freely and quickly drawn in and out. It was not something an ordinary person could compare with. Moreover, he had experienced Duan Ling Tian's cautiousness in the past. He had led them into the hidden fog sect, killed the disciples of Old Man Feng and Old Man Lei, and then retreated unscathed. How could such a person be so easily tricked? You want to sneak attack me? When Fang Wenxiao suddenly attacked like thunder, Duan Ling Tian's expression didn't change at all. He even had a mocking smile on his face. Facing Fang Wenxiao's sudden attack, Duan Ling Tian casually raised his hand. The high-grade divine sword he had lent to Ho Qingning appeared, and this high-grade divine sword was the one Linghu Huan had given him. You sneak attacked me, so don't blame me for being impolite. Duan Ling Tian's mind stirred. Divine power instantly broke out of his body, turning into a spatial storm. Then, it poured into the sword in his hand. With a flash of sword light, it swept out like a whirlwind. Whoosh! The high-grade divine sword that was wrapped in a spatial storm broke through the air. It was so strong that it surpassed Fang Wenxiao's current attack. Embryonic form of sword Dao. The fusion of the three profound meanings of the space laws completely crushed Fang Wenxiao's laws. In addition, there was the amplification power of the space law's avatar. The space law's avatar, in addition to being able to leave the body to fight, could also attack together with the main body when it was hidden in the main body. This would strengthen the main body's attack. Although it couldn't completely stack, it could still increase the power by a lot. Of course, this little bit of amplification was far inferior to the space law's avatar leaving the body and joining forces with the main body. But it was enough to deal with Fang Wenxiao. Bang! Under the gazes of everyone present, Duan Ling Tian's attack finally collided with Fang Wenxiao's attack, and it emitted an enormous bang that seemed to shake the heavens and the earth. The terrifying aftershock of the energy spread out in all directions, and then it was completely blocked off by the combat arena formation that enveloped them, causing it to not affect the spectators outside. The gray spatial storm persisted for a moment with the resplendent golden light before completely crushing it. As for the spatial storm itself, it had consumed a lot of energy. However, even so, the strength of the remaining force still caught Fang Wenxiao off guard, and he ruthlessly struck his chest. With a loud bang, an arrow of blood shot out of Fang Wenxiao's mouth as if it didn't cost money. As for him, he was sent flying like an object. He crashed into the array formation barrier of the battle arena and fainted in front of everyone. If the array formation hadn't supported his unconscious body, he would have fallen like a rootless duckweed. Shower! The expression of a middle-aged man in luxurious clothes suddenly changed. Then, his body swayed as he wanted to check on Fang Wenxiao's injuries. Oomph! However, when the middle-aged man in luxurious clothes was halfway there was a cold snort. Suddenly, a person appeared in front of the middle-aged man in luxurious clothes and casually landed a palm on his body. Bang! With another loud bang, the middle-aged man in luxurious clothes was severely injured and sent flying hundreds of meters away. Not only was he in a sorry state, but blood was also flowing from the corner of his mouth. I was too concerned. Please forgive me, Elder Dongfang. When the middle-aged man in luxurious clothes looked at the person who had injured him, not only did he not dare to show any anger, he instead repeatedly apologized. Although he was the head of the Fang family, Their Fang family was only an ordinary godly emperor family below the Tianlong clan. They were on par with the Linghu family and the Morong family. Even the elders of the Fang family did not dare to say they could defeat a white dragon elder like Dongfang Yannian, not to mention that he was only a low-level divine emperor. If you continue, I'll kill you without mercy. Dongfang Yannian glanced at the middle-aged man indifferently. His tone was so cold that the middle-aged man did not dare to doubt his words at all. At the same time, he continued to apologize, not daring to be negligent. There were rules in the hidden dragon competition. No one was allowed to interfere. Although the head of the Fang family did not necessarily want to help Fang Wenxiao deal with the Duanling Tian, since he had the momentum to charge forward, as the White Dragon Elder in charge of supervising the Hidden Dragon Elders, Dongfang Yannian naturally would not just stand by and watch. In fact, even if Dongfang Yannian did not do anything, the other White Dragon Elder beside him would do something. Even the Black Dragon Elder, Lan Yushan, who was in charge of the Hidden Dragon competition, might do something. However, once Lan Yushan personally took action, the head of the Fang family would definitely not be so lucky. Sensing the cold gaze from Lan Yushan, the expression of the Fang family's head changed once again. At the same time, he repeatedly apologized to Lan Yushan. Only when he knew that Lan Yushan was no longer looking at him did he let out a sigh of relief. However, he was still covered in cold sweat from fright. Although the Fang family had some background in the Tianlong clan, the strongest was only the White Dragon Elder. If the Black Dragon Elder wanted to kill him, no one would stand up for him. However, because of the commotion caused by the head of the Fang family, Duanling Tian defeating and severely injuring Fang Wenxiao with a single strike, the shock brought to the spectators was temporarily diverted. Only when the commotion calmed down did their attention all land on the youth in purple with an outstanding aura. Duanling Tian lives up to his reputation? Isn't this difference a little too great? Is Duanling Tian really only a middle divine king? A middle divine king defeating a high divine king with a single strike? Duanling Tian defeating an opponent above his level is even more exaggerated than Ding Yan's. Ding Yan even had the advantage of a high-quality divine artifact. After all, his opponent did not have a high-quality divine artifact. However, Duanling Tian's opponent also had a high-quality divine artifact. Although Duanling Tian's performance in the qualifiers was already frightening enough. However, at that time, Duanling Tian had only faced a group of young geniuses who were not even 5,000 years old, and now, the Fang Wenxiao he had defeated was not someone those young geniuses could compare to. Not only was he over 8,000 years old, he was also an outstanding disciple of a divine emperor-level sect. This guy is in the limelight again. Ho Qingning looked at Duanling Tian with envy, jealousy, and hatred as he shook his head and sighed. As for Ding Yan, he was also staring at Duanling Tian with a burning gaze. The shock in his heart could not be calmed down for a long time. Before this, he had only heard that Duanling Tian was more powerful than before, but he did not expect it to be to this extent. At this moment, the 10,000 Devil Sect's core disciple Du Qianjuan's face was as dark as water. His expression was extremely ugly. Damn it! If he hadn't stolen the fortune of the God Emperor's divine treasure from me, my current strength would not be weaker than his. The defeat just now caused him to have no chance of entering the top 100 of the Hidden Dragon competition. And in the Hidden Dragon competition, only the top 100 would have rewards. Du Pujuan, who was standing beside Du Qianjun, had an extremely solemn expression. Just like the Donghua clan's young lord, Hua Tiandu, and other people with extraordinary abilities, their expressions were also extremely solemn at this moment. They knew that the youth in purple in front of them would be their greatest enemy in this Hidden Dragon competition. Duanling Tian. Suddenly, an extremely cold voice sounded in Duanling Tian's ears, causing Duanling Tian's soul to tremble slightly. Meanwhile, Duanling Tian's expression also changed slightly. If you dare to enter the top 10 of the Hidden Dragon competition, Linghu Renjie will definitely die. The other party's words were a threat. Ling Tian War Supremacy. Chapter 3808. The sudden transmission caused Duanling Tian's heart to sink. This person was actually threatening him? Moreover, he was threatening him with Linghu Renjie's life? Who is it? Duan Lingtian instinctively looked around, trying to find the person who had transmitted the message from the crowd. However, he found nothing. The other party was very clever. Although he had transmitted the message, it gave him a feeling that it was difficult to find the direction of the transmission. It was as if the voice had come out of nowhere. "There's no need to look. I can see you, but you can't see me." The voice rang out again, its tone extremely cold. Because Duan Lingtian couldn't see the other party, he couldn't communicate with them at all. This caused Duan Lingtian's expression to become even more unsightly. Who was it? Was he deliberately mystifying him, or was he really threatening him? He wanted Duan Lingtian to give up on the top 10 with a single transmission? Who did he think he was? Taking a deep breath, Duan Lingtian immediately sent a transmission to Dongfang Yannian when he exited the Ring of Light, telling him about the transmission he had just received. As for Dongfang Yannian, after hearing his transmission, his expression also changed greatly. Although the Hidden Dragon competition wasn't a grand occasion for the Tianlong clan, it still held great significance for the Tianlong clan. Threatening a new disciple participating in the Hidden Dragon competition was no different from challenging the dignity of the Tianlong clan. Elder Blue. After confirming it with Duan Lingtian, Dongfang Yannian didn't hesitate at all. He immediately reported this matter to the Black Dragon Elder, Blue Feather Mountain. As the person in charge of the Hidden Dragon competition this time, Blue Feather Mountain's expression also changed greatly when he heard Dongfang Yannian's transmission. Then, he looked at Duan Lingtian with a lightning-like gaze and sent a message to Duan Lingtian. "Duan Lingtian, are you telling the truth? There are some words that you must take responsibility for once you've said them. Elder, if you don't believe me, I'm willing to swear a heart demon blood oath," Duan Lingtian said with a deep voice. Normally speaking, only he would be able to hear the other party's voice transmission. However, the realms of gods were the little worlds of supreme experts. Even if they did not pay attention to voice transmissions, the heaven and earth grand formation in their little worlds would still record it. Otherwise, how could he confirm whether a person had received a voice transmission before? In the realms of gods, a heart demon blood oath could be used against any situation. As long as one was not guilty, nothing would happen to them. However, if one made a heart demon blood oath, one would be doomed. Because of this, Blue Feather Mountain's divine sense immediately swept out in all directions after receiving Duan Lingtian's confirmation. To be able to send a message to Duan Lingtian without Duan Lingtian noticing it, it must be someone who was one realm higher than Duan Lingtian. At the very least, it must be a lower divine emperor. Although there were many divine emperors present, other than the elders of the Tianlong clan, there were only the upper echelons of various divine emperors and some young geniuses present. It's useless even if you tell Blue Feather Mountain. While Blue Feather Mountain was scanning the surroundings, the other party's voice rang in Duan Lingtian's ears again. "I've already left. He won't be able to find me. Remember my words. If you don't want Linghu Renjie to die, don't enter the top 10 of the Hidden Dragon competition." The other party's voice transmission came to an abrupt end. Duan Lingtian's expression darkened. It was obvious that the other party had noticed Blue Feather Mountain's reaction and left at the right time. Taking a deep breath, Duan Lingtian relayed the other party's message to Blue Feather Mountain. Blue Feather Mountain did not continue searching the surroundings. In a flash, he appeared beside Duan Lingtian. Then, under the shocked gazes of everyone except Dongfang Yannian, Duan Lingtian was taken away by Blue Feather Mountain. From beginning to end, Blue Feather Mountain did not greet anyone. "Duan Lingtian? What's going on?" Duan Lingtian being taken away by Blue Feather Mountain's Black Dragon Elder attracted the gazes of the majority of the people present. At this moment, everyone's gazes were filled with confusion. At this moment, Duan Lingtian even received messages from Ho Qingning, Ding Yin, Ling Hu Huan, and the others. "I'm fine. There's just something that Elder Blue wants to discuss with me in private," Duan Lingtian said to Blue Feather Mountain. As soon as Blue Feather Mountain dared to leave with Duan Lingtian, Dongfang Yannian immediately followed them. They followed Duan Lingtian and Blue Feather Mountain to a relatively short mountain peak in the Firing Dragon Mountain range. Blue Feather Mountain did not say anything about Dongfang Yannian's arrival. He looked towards Duan Lingtian and said in a deep voice, "This is a serious matter. Swear a heart demon blood oath in front of me. Otherwise, I won't be able to completely trust you. Hearing that, Duan Lingtian's eyes flickered. However, he did not swear a heart demon blood oath immediately. Instead, he asked Dongfang Yannian which branch of the Tianlong clan Blue Feather Mountain belonged to. Of course, Duan Lingtian wanted to confirm whether Blue Feather Mountain belonged to the Thousand Demon sect or not. The Kuang Tianzheng of the Thousand Demon sect wanted to kill him even in his dreams. Elder Blue does not come from any external organization. He was accepted into the Tianlong clan because of his extraordinary talent since he was young. He is a disciple born and bred in the Tianlong clan. He belongs to the main branch of the Tianlong clan. The main branch of the Tianlong clan was also the strongest branch of the Tianlong clan. The strongest existences in the Tianlong clan were basically all from the main branch. The people of the main branch of the Tianlong clan here referred to the disciples and elders of the Tianlong clan who did not join the Tianlong clan halfway through their lives. After learning that Elder Black Dragon Blue Feather Mountain belonged to the main branch, Duan Lingtian no longer hesitated. He immediately swore a heart demon blood oath in front of Blue Feather Mountain and Dongfang Yannian. After Duan Lingtian swore a heart demon blood oath, Blue Feather Mountain's expression became terrifyingly gloomy. Elder, please tell me what I should do next. Duan Lingtian looked at Blue Feather Mountain and sighed. I'm not sure if he's just scaring me or if he's serious. Linghu Renjie is the head of the Linghu family. I owe him a debt of gratitude. I don't want to be a burden to him. Ignore him. Blue Feather Mountain took a deep breath. A cold light flickered in his eyes. Have you ever heard that person's voice before? No. Duan Lingtian shook his head. Moreover, it's possible to change one's voice through sound transmission. Do you have enemies in the Tianlong clan? Blue Feather Mountain asked again. This matter was clearly done by someone from the Tianlong clan. Moreover, to be able to come so close to the Flame Dragon Arena, that person was at least an inner sect disciple. If it was only an inner sect disciple, he would have easily detected it with his divine sense. Since he couldn't detect it, it meant that the other party was at least a god emperor. Moreover, he knew that the head of the Linghu family, Linghu Renjie, was a lesser god emperor. If he dared to use Linghu Renjie's life to threaten Duan Lingtian, it meant that he had the strength to kill Linghu Renjie. I guess so. Duan Lingtian nodded. Who? Blue Feather Mountain asked. Inner sect elder, Kuang Tianjing. Duan Lingtian explained the conflict between him and Kuang Tianjing. Of course, he didn't mention that he killed Kuang Tianjing's disciple. Although some things were done by oneself, it was better not to admit it. Moreover, when he killed Kuang Tianjing's disciple, Chu Han, he wasn't even a Tianlong clan disciple. But Chu Han was a Tianlong clan disciple at the time. Is there anyone else? Blue Feather Mountain frowned and asked again. There is another person. He is the previous sect master of the Hidden Fog sect. I don't know his name, but I know that he is Elder Shui Haichuan's big brother. In the past, because I killed his only son, he left the Hidden Fog sect and went to the Myriad Demon sect. Later, he entered the Tianlong clan. As for Elder Shui Haichuan's big brother, Shui Haishan, I met him in the Stairway to Heaven prison, but I didn't kill him. I just don't know if he will vent his anger on me because of this. Moreover, after Shui Haishan came out, he came to find me with Elder Shui Haichuan. He can be considered a friend of mine. Duan Lingtian paused for a moment before continuing. Of course, in terms of suspicion, I think that Kuang Tianzheng is more likely. It can't be Kuang Tianzheng. Blue Feather Mountain shook his head and said, I just asked the patrolling elders around the Flame Dragon Arena. His cultivation isn't any weaker than Kuang Tianjing's. If Kuang Tianzheng came here, it's impossible for him not to discover him, even if he deliberately hid himself. Maybe it's just one of the divine emperors who deliberately sent you a sound transmission, wanting you to give up the fight for the top 10. If that's the case, their juniors will have a better chance of entering the top 10. Blue Feather Mountain voiced his guess. Although Duan Lingtian also felt that this was a possibility, he still asked further, is it possible that the person behind Kuang Tianzheng is threatening me? When Duan Lingtian said this, Dongfang Yinyan's pupil shrank behind Blue Feather Mountain. Blue Feather Mountain also gave Duan Lingtian a deep look. There's only one person behind Elder Kwang Tianzhong who has the ability to come to the Flame Dragon Arena and threaten you with a sound transmission without being detected by the patrolling elders. That person either came personally or sent Elder Black Dragon over. You should know who I'm talking about, right? When Blue Feather Mountain said this, Duan Lingtian could only fall silent. Otherwise, what else could he say? That he suspected it was that vice sect leader Shui of the Tianlong clan? Elder, can you find out who was hiding near the Flame Dragon Arena through the formation mirror image? Duan Lingtian asked. The Linghu family had this kind of formation mirror image. When he left the Linghu family mansion, he wasn't discovered on the spot, but was later discovered through the formation mirror image. I've already asked, Blue Feather Mountain said. Blue Feather Mountain said, no one was around the Flame Dragon Arena when I took you away. In other words, the person who sent the sound transmission to you should be present. From what I saw earlier, other than myself and the 2 White Dragon Elders, there are only a dozen other inner sect elders present. Furthermore, none of them are from the 10,000 Demon sect, nor do they have any interactions with the 10,000 Demon sect. So, it should be some foreign divine emperor who sent the sound transmission to threaten you, wanting you to give up. Among those people, the stronger ones, such as the leader of the Donghua clan and other mid-level divine emperors, should be disdainful of doing something like this. It's most likely someone else who doesn't have confidence in their juniors and sent the sound transmission to scare you. Blue Feather Mountain voiced his guess. Scare me on purpose? Hearing Blue Feather Mountain's guess, and considering that Blue Feather Mountain had intentionally asked the person in charge of the formation, Duan Lingtian's heart that had been hanging in the air was now slightly relieved. Chapter 3809. Although he was slightly relieved, Duan Lingtian still sent a message to Linghu Renjia when he returned to the Fire Dragon Arena with Lan Yushan. He's using me to threaten you so that you won't enter the top 10? After receiving Duan Lingtian's message, Linghu Renjia was stunned at first, but then he said indifferently, ignore him. It won't be that easy to kill me. I'm no longer the patriarch of the Linghu family. I'm preparing to enter secluded cultivation in the clan. I'm still very confident in my Linghu family's protective formation. Also, didn't you say, the Black Dragon Elder who's in charge of the Hidden Dragon competition said that it's probably a prank from those foreign god kings, so there's even less reason for you to pay attention to it. Linghu Renjia spoke casually and fearlessly. Only after hearing Linghu Renjia's message did Duan Lingtian completely relax. At this moment, he had returned to the vicinity of the Fire Dragon Arena with Lan Yushan and Dongfang Yannian. The Hidden Dragon competition was still going on intensely. However, their return still attracted quite a few doubtful gazes. What is it? Duan Lingtian only smiled faintly in response to Ding Yin and Ho Qingning's questions and said, it's nothing. Duan Lingtian told the 2 elders of the Linghu family, Linghu Zhengxing and Linghu Huan. What had happened to him was the truth. Naturally, the 2 of them were furious when they heard that. However, in the end, they advised Duan Lingtian to ignore it. At the same time, they scanned the surrounding god kings, as if they wanted to find the person who could threaten Duan Lingtian. As time passed, Duan Lingtian went on stage again and defeated his opponent easily. Du Pejuan, Hua Tiandu, and the others were the same. They were unstoppable. The woman from the 10,000 Flower Valley, Lady 7, also displayed strength that was on par with Min. No one had been able to last more than 3 moves against her. Of course, this was also the reason why her current opponents were relatively weak. However, the weak mentioned here was only relative to her. The Hidden Dragon competition will determine the top 30 first. From the looks of it, the people who will be able to enter the top 30 are already extremely clear. Ho Qingning glanced at Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, you will definitely enter the top 30. No one will doubt it. However, I'm afraid Ding Yin will have to accept a few challenges. The Hidden Dragon competition would follow the arrangement of the 10 inner sect elders of the Tianlong clan who were in charge of the competition. The top 30 would be decided first. Of course, the exact ranking of these 30 people had yet to be decided. So much so that they hadn't even fought against each other before. They were all people who the inner sect elders of the Tianlong clan, who were in charge of the competition, thought to be relatively strong, so they hadn't been arranged to fight against each other. Very quickly, the 30 people were decided. At this time, it was already dusk. Next, I will announce the provisional name list of the top 30 people of the Hidden Dragon competition. Now, the 30 people whose names I call will defend the ring tomorrow. Peng Dong, Qin Yuanjing, Ji Wucheng, Situ Cheng, Duan Ling Tian, one of the 10 inner sect elders of the Tianlong clan who were in charge of the Hidden Dragon competition, loudly announced the names on the name list in his hand. Duan Ling Tian and Ding Yan's names were impressively on the list. Besides the two of them, Donghua clan's young sect leader Hua Tiandu, 10,000 Flower Valley's Miss 7, and Ouyang Jinshan of the Ouyang clan were also present. Other than Duan Ling Tian, no one else from the Linghu family entered the top 30. However, there was one person from the Morong family named Morong Luofeng, who was a direct descendant of the Morong family. Tomorrow, these 30 people will defend the ring. Those who were eliminated earlier have the right to issue a challenge to them. If the challenge is successful, then they can replace them. If the challenge is lost within 100 moves, it will be regarded as a waste of the Hidden Dragon competition's time, and there will be a corresponding punishment. If the challenge is lost within 100 moves, 1 year's worth of Spirit Stone salary will be deducted, and at the same time, 1 year of unpaid patrol outside the sect. If the challenge is lost within 50 moves, 3 years' worth of Spirit Stone salary will be deducted, and at the same time, 3 years of unpaid patrol outside the sect. If the challenge is lost within 30 moves, the punishment. In the beginning, there were many people who didn't know the details of the Hidden Dragon competition and wanted to challenge a few more people tomorrow to see if they could enter the top 30. But now, after the inner sect elder explained the details, many people who weren't confident in their own strength immediately dispelled this idea. What a joke. Unless they had enough confidence in themselves, if they rashly challenged someone and lost within 100 moves, they would be punished, and the punishment wouldn't be light. Moreover, the faster the person they challenged defeated them, the heavier the punishment they would receive. Today's Hidden Dragon competition also came to an end amidst the sighs of a group of people. Some people sighed because they didn't enter the top 30. Some people sighed because they didn't have the courage to challenge tomorrow. Some people sighed because their juniors didn't perform as well as they expected. There's no more sound transmissions. Ever since he followed the Black Dragon Elder back to the Fire Dragon Arena from Blue Feather Mountain, Duan Ling Tian hadn't heard any more sound transmissions from the person who threatened him earlier. Thinking of Blue Feather Mountain's guests and Linghu Renjie's fearlessness, Duan Ling Tian gradually stopped taking this matter seriously. Then, he, Ding Yin, and Ho Qingning walked to their temporary residence. These new disciples were all arranged to stay in the same place. On the way, Ho Qingning looked at Ding Yin with a smile. Ding Yin, Duan Ling Tian probably won't be challenged tomorrow, but I'm afraid you'll be challenged a lot. You've entered the top 30 today, but don't fail miserably tomorrow. Hearing Ho Qingning's words, Ding Yin lightly shook his head. Under normal circumstances, there shouldn't be a problem. However, although the top 30 should be in the bag, it's still extremely difficult to enter the top 20. After all, my cultivation is still too low. Ding Yin sighed. Today's provisional top 30. Among the 30, you are the only lower God King. Duan Ling Tian smiled. I'm sure even your uncle would be pleased with your results. Uncle Sikong only told me to do my best. He didn't set any targets for me. Ding Yin said. He didn't set a target for you to enter the top 10? Ho Qingning stared at him. There's an Emperor Ascension pill in the top 10. Once the Emperor Ascension Divine Pill is consumed, the bottleneck between high-level Divine King and low-level Divine Emperor will be broken. In the future, as long as you accumulate enough energy, you'll be able to enter the lower God Emperor realm from the upper God King realm. Ho Qingning's eyes lit up when she mentioned the Emperor Ascension Pill. Even though she was still far from the upper God King realm, she still looked forward to it. If she consumed it now, she wouldn't have to worry about the bottleneck between the upper God King realm and the lower God Emperor realm. I'm not in a hurry. Ding Yin smiled as he shook his head. Uncle Sikong told me that it's almost impossible for me to enter the top 10 this time. Even if I don't obtain the Emperor Ascension Divine Pill this time, when I become a high-level Divine King, he will still ask the sect master for one. Ho Qingning's expression froze. Even Morong Inue looked at Ding Yin enviously. Ding Yin. Ho Qingning came back to his senses, and a bright smile appeared on his face. Why don't you go back and tell your uncle to get 2 more Emperor Ascension pills for me in third miss? Well, I'll talk to him after the hidden dragon competition ends. Ding Yen hesitated for a moment and agreed. It should be no problem. Haha. Before Morong Inue could refuse, Ho Qingning laughed. Ding Yen, I'm just joking with you. I don't deserve it. It's enough that you have the heart. Just now, even Duan Lingtian felt that Ho Qingning was making things difficult for him. After all, he wasn't Ding Yan's father but his uncle. Now, when he heard Ho Qingning's words, he shook his head. He was wondering why Ho Qingning suddenly became so impolite. It should be known that he was very polite in front of him. It turned out that he was just teasing Ding Yan. You. Ding Yan smiled helplessly. However, he had already decided that when he went back, he would mention it to his uncle Sikong. After all, Ho Qingning was one of his few friends. As for Morong Inue, if there were no accidents, she would definitely be a couple with Ho Qingning. Asking for one for her was no different from asking for one for Ho Qingning. When Duan Lingtian and the others returned to their residence, night had already fallen. It was a quiet night. On the second day, Duan Lingtian, Ding Yan, and the others who were tentatively ranked in the top 30 of the Hidden Dragon competition became the arena masters and accepted the challenges of others. Of course, each person only had 2 chances to challenge. Moreover, once they challenged and were defeated within 100 moves, they would be punished. Under these circumstances, although there were people who challenged, it wasn't many. There were only 10 or so people, and they were all people who had a certain level of confidence in their own strength. During this process, Ding Yin was challenged a few times. However, Ding Yin successfully defeated his opponent every time. There were 2 people who persisted past 100 moves. The others were defeated by Ding Yin within 100 moves, and they would also be punished. After a morning, one of the arena masters who were tentatively ranked in the top 30 was eliminated. After that, no one else was eliminated. Until noon, no one issued another challenge. In the afternoon, the 70 people who were tentatively ranked from 31st to 100th would become the arena masters and accept the challenges of others. The rules were the same as well. After an afternoon, before night fell, the results were out. Again, one person was eliminated and replaced, and the others were as steady as Mount Tai. These 10 inner sect elders of the Tianlong clan are too insightful. Only 2 of the people they arranged to enter the top 100 were eliminated and replaced. The scene before their eyes caused many people to sigh with emotion. Duan Lingtian wasn't surprised by this. No matter what, these 10 inner sect elders of the Tianlong clan were mid-level divine emperors. It was normal for them to be able to make such accurate judgments after watching a group of divine kings fight. Henceforth, the top 100 people in this hidden dragon competition were determined. After that, it would be the top 30 people and the last 70 people in the top 100 to determine the specific rankings. The hidden dragon competition will end in a few days. Duan Lingtian's heart shook. For some reason, he couldn't help but recall the voice transmission that threatened him that day. I hope it's really just a bluff. Chapter 38:10. In the Hidden Dragon Grand Competition, only those in the top 100 needed to be ranked. Of course, those ranked 31st to 100th would receive the same rewards in the Hidden Dragon Grand Competition. In truth, the ranking was just a matter of face. As for those ranked in the top 30, the higher they were ranked, the richer their rewards were. In particular, those ranked in the top 10 had the richest rewards. Currently, everyone was able to obtain an Emperor Divine Fruit. This was a divine pill that could allow a higher God King to ignore bottlenecks and break through to the God's sovereign realm. However, even if the 70 people ranked after the top 100 had the same rewards, the ranking battle was still intense. Everyone was doing their best to climb up. It looks like these people are quite smart. Ho Qingning smiled. Of course. Ding Yin said matter-of-factly. To be able to cultivate to their level, they aren't fools. Although it doesn't matter if they are ranked 31st or 100th, the rewards are the same. But as long as they are in the limelight enough, they might be taken in by a black dragon elder. Do they have a chance of becoming a disciple of a golden dragon elder? Ho Qingning asked. That's basically impossible. Ding Yin shook his head. There aren't many golden dragon elders in the Tianlong clan, Every one of them, when placed in the Tianlong clan, has a status equal to the hidden fog sect's Cloud Mist and Thunder Elders. Not to mention those ranked 31st, even those ranked 11th to 30th would have a status as high as a Golden Dragon Elder. They wouldn't be taken in. As for those in the top 10, they might have a glimmer of hope, but it isn't absolute. Ding Yin was well aware of some of the Tianlong clan's circumstances. In the Tianlong clan, the Black Dragon Elders didn't have the highest status amongst all the elders. Above the Black Dragon Elders were the Golden Dragon Elders. These were the peak powerhouses of the Tianlong clan. Even when looking at the entire Tianlong clan, they could be counted on one hand. The Golden Dragon Elders were all extreme existences amongst higher god sovereigns. Even the current clan leader of the Tianlong clan was slightly inferior to them. In the current Tianlong clan, the Golden Dragon Elder was the strongest, followed by the clan leader, the vice clan leader, and then the Black Dragon Elder. Of course, the strength of the few Black Dragon Elders was not weaker than the current clan leader and the vice clan leaders of the Tianlong clan. Elder Golden Dragon, Duan Lingtian stood to one side and quietly listened to the conversation between Ding Yin and Ho Qingning. He had only heard that the Tianlong clan had a few Golden Dragon Elders whose strength was close to that of a God Emperor. There were even one or two who were only one step away from becoming a God Emperor. In the blink of an eye, another day passed. That day was also the day when the ranking of the top 30 would be decided. As for the order of the duels, it was still arranged by the 10 inner sect elders of the Tianlong clan. 30 people, divided into 15 duels. It was always the strong against the weak. Ding Yin entered the ring earlier than Duan Lingtian and lost to his opponent. The one who defeated Ding Yin was a direct descendant of the Murong family, Murong Luofeng, who was also Murong Inue's cousin. When Ding Yin entered the ring, Murong Inue privately said that Ding Yin was probably not her cousin's match. After one duel, Ding Yin lost. Murong Luofeng's comprehension of the law of nature was not weaker than Ding Yan's. Although her bloodline power was not as strong as Ding Yan's, she easily defeated Ding Yin with her superior cultivation. Ding Yin wasn't surprised by his defeat. His cultivation was his biggest flaw. Of course, to be able to have the cultivation of a lower divine king at his age was actually already not bad. He was less than 3,000 years old, but Murong Luofeng was nearly 10,000 years old. Moreover, Ding Yin was mentally prepared. He knew that with his strength, even if he could squeeze into the top 30, he would definitely be at the bottom of the top 30. When Ding Yin was defeated, Hua Tiandu on the other side also defeated his opponent after 10 moves. Now Hua Tiandu and Ding Yin were the same. Miss Seven also defeated her opponent, but it took her 20 moves to defeat her opponent. Of course, this did not mean that Hua Tiandu was stronger than Miss Seven. The difference in strength between the two opponents was not small. In terms of strength, Duan Lingtian judged that Miss Seven's opponent would have no difficulty in reaching the top 20. As for Hua Tiandu's opponent, even if he was not at the bottom, he would at most reach the 25th place. Ouyang Jianxin and Ji Wucheng also won. After Hua Tiandu and Miss Seven, Ouyang Jianxin of the Ouyang family and Ji Wucheng of the Hanchu sect also won one after another. Then, in the other 5 duels, 5 people also won after some fighting, but it was more difficult. Up until now, the remaining people were all quite strong. Except for those who were especially strong, the rest were about the same strength. Now, there are 10 people who are tentatively in the top 15. The battle for the top 30 would also determine the top 15 people first, and those who were tentatively in the top 15 would also be challenged by those who were tentatively in the bottom 15. Of course, if the challenge failed, they would also be punished according to the previous rules. Unless they had enough confidence, otherwise, challenging them would be looking for a beating. Duan Lingtian, it's your turn. There were a total of 10 combat rings. After the top 20 people decided on the 10 victors, the remaining 10 people, including Duan Lingtian, once again ascended the combat rings. This time, there were only 5 duels. And among these 5 duels, the most eye-catching ones were 2 of them. One of them was Duan Lingtian's duel. Duan Lingtian was not unfamiliar to the people present. It was to the extent that Duan Lingtian could be considered a famous person in the area around the Tianlong clan, and at the same time, he was also a popular candidate for the top 3 in the Hidden Dragon competition in everyone's eyes. The most important thing was that Duan Lingtian was not even 3,000 years old. Moreover, it was said that he was more than 100 years younger than Ding Yan, who was not even 3,000 years old and had fought his way into the top 30. Originally, Ding Yan's limelight was already strong enough. But Duan Lingtian's limelight had completely overshadowed his. There were even many people who were whispering in private, feeling that Ding Yan was unlucky, and that his limelight had been completely stolen by Duan Lingtian. As the person involved, Ding Yan naturally heard these whispers, but he did not care. In his eyes, Duan Lingtian was a freak, and he would not compare himself with Duan Lingtian. Ding Yan, how many moves do you think Duan Lingtian will be able to defeat his opponent this time? Ho Qingning asked with a smile. This was also the second time that Duan Lingtian had fought. Since the last time, the strength that Duan Lingtian had displayed made the 10 elders of the Tianlong clan, who were hosting the Hidden Dragon competition, directly give Duan Lingtian a spot in the top 30. This kind of treatment was only given to a small number of people, and these people, after being temporarily ranked in the top 30, did not challenge him. Firstly, they all knew that he was strong, and secondly, they all trusted the judgment of the 10 inner sect elders of the Tianlong clan to a certain extent. Duan Lingtian's opponent this time is from the God Emperor level Luosha sect, and he is the last disciple of the Luosha sect's leader. He is also one of the 2 most outstanding young geniuses of the Luosha sect. If he did not hide any trump cards before, Duan Lingtian will definitely defeat him within 10 moves. If he does have any trump cards, he should be able to last a little longer. From Ding Yan's words, it was obvious that he was full of confidence in Duan Lingtian. Their conversation was not soft, and several disciples of the Luosha sect who were watching nearby heard it. Immediately, their expressions turned ugly, and they glared at the 2 of them fiercely. A loser like you dares to talk about the disciples of Sha Zhenghu? The current leader of the Luosha sect, Sha Zhenghu, was a middle-aged man with a strong build and a resolute and cold face. He glanced indifferently at Ding Yan and Ho Qingning and said with a mocking smile, "Your disciple will soon become a loser like us." Unlike Ho Qingning, who was frowning slightly in fear, Ding Yan directly retorted. He did not give them any face just because the other party was the leader of a God Emperor-level sect. At this time, Ho Qingning also gave Ding Yan a thumbs up. Awesome. It was indeed different to have a backer. At this moment, Ho Qingning felt that Ding Yan was awe-inspiring, but at the same time, he felt a sense of loss. Why didn't he have a backer who was a Black Dragon Elder in the Tianlong clan? In the Tianlong clan, even if one was a foreign Black Dragon Elder, one had to at least have the strength of a Black Dragon Elder if one wanted to be a Black Dragon Elder. Otherwise, they would not be given such a high status. It was not difficult to guess the strength of Ding Yan's uncle. He was at least a high-level Divine Emperor. As for a high-level Divine Emperor, even if he was just an ordinary high-level Divine Emperor, he was not someone the leader of the Luosha sect, who was only a lower-level Divine Emperor, could compare to. Boy, you're courting death. Sha Zhenghu was enraged by the provocation of a lower-level Divine King boy. When he looked at Ding Yan again, a cold light flashed in his eyes, and his tone was filled with killing intent. Bang! Almost as soon as Sha Zhenghu finished speaking, a loud sound reverberated, causing the 10 people in the 5-way fighting ring who were about to fight to stop temporarily. PFFF, under the gaze of Duan Lingtian and the others, Sha Zhenghu, the leader of the Luosha sect, was sent flying. Blood spurted from his mouth, and he only managed to stabilize himself after flying for a few hundred meters. This is only a warning. If I hear of anyone who dares to talk nonsense about killing a disciple of the Tianlong clan, I don't mind sending him on his way. The voice of the Black Dragon Elder, Blue Feather Mountain, rang in the air. The person who attacked Sha Zhenghu was none other than him. Sha Zhenghu's face was as gloomy as still water, and a hint of fear flashed in his eyes. It was only then that he remembered the boastful person was an inner sect disciple of the Tianlong clan, just like his last disciple. However, this person actually dared to talk about killing an inner sect disciple of the Tianlong clan in front of the Tianlong clan's Black Dragon Elder. At this moment, only regret was left in his heart. He should not have spoken so arrogantly. Master! Duan Lingtian's opponent, Sha Zhenghu's disciple, was a young man dressed in a crimson robe. He had a cold expression on his face, and his expression changed drastically at this moment. Of course, he did not dare to vent the anger in his heart on the Black Dragon Elder, Blue Feather Mountain, who had attacked him. After he coldly glanced at Ding Yin, his gaze landed on Duan Lingtian again. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Duan Lingtian, it seems like your friend is very confident in you. I'd like to see how you're going to defeat me. Chapter 38:11. He was the last disciple of Sha Zhenghu, the leader of the Rakshasa sect. As one of the two prodigies of the younger generation of the Rakshasa sect, he had his own pride. When he saw that his master had been injured by the elder Black Dragon of the Tianlong clan because he had tried to protect him, his expression turned ugly. He glared at Ding Yin and swore to himself that he would not let Ding Yin off easily in the future. Then, he vented his anger on Duan Lingtian. You're no match for me. Duan Lingtian shook his head gently in the face of the young man's provocation. Although the young man did not take long to defeat his opponent in the previous battle, it was not difficult to see that he had used almost all of his means and held nothing back. Arrogant. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the young man was completely enraged. He could no longer hold back and charged toward Duan Lingtian with the power of thunder that shook the void. Boom. Rumble. The power of thunder and lightning converged around the young man, making him look like the god of thunder. In particular, the divine weapon hammer in his hand was surrounded by the power of thunder and lightning. It pierced through the air and shot toward Duan Lingtian with earth-shattering power. In the face of the young man's angry attack, Duan Lingtian's expression did not change. In a flash, he disappeared from where he stood. Teleportation. In an instant, Duan Lingtian appeared behind the young man and swung his sword. Whoosh! Almost at the same moment when the sword whistled, the young man suddenly turned around. The power on the divine weapon hammer in his hand seemed to be attracted and changed direction abruptly. Moreover, there was almost no consumption. Bang! With a loud bang, the hammer and the sword crossed each other. The terrifying aftershock of the collision spread in all directions, shaking the surrounding array barrier. After the collision, Duan Lingtian's body trembled slightly. On the other hand, the young man took a few steps back in the air, his face flushed red. At least, that was what the onlookers thought. Duan Lingtian is still better. Isn't that normal? The spectators were not surprised by the scene in front of them, because, in their opinion, with the strength that Duan Lingtian had displayed in the past, in addition to the fact that he was already a medium divine king now, it would not be difficult for him to charge into the top 10. And now, they were only fighting for the top 15. Even if I can't defeat you, I won't let you have it easy. The eyes of the young man who was pushed back by Duan Lingtian were bloodshot. He was enraged by Duan Lingtian's humiliation. Soon after, the bloodline energy in his body began to vibrate. The terrifying thunderbolt energy in his body was surrounded by blood-red electric snakes. It was a peculiar sight. Duan Lingtian, again. The young man roared and swung the giant hammer in his hand again, smashing it toward Duan Lingtian. This time, the power he displayed was even stronger than before. Of course, his strength was limited. This time, he had only used the power of his bloodline. On the other hand, Duan Lingtian frowned slightly as a hint of impatience flashed in his eyes when the young man continued to pester him even after he was at a disadvantage. This guy, can't he see that I have already shown mercy? Forget it. Since you want to embarrass yourself, I will fulfill your wish. Duan Lingtian sighed in his heart. Then, his eyes turned cold. As he raised his hand, the power of the space storm around the upper-grade holy sword raged. The power of the space law doppelganger, which he had not used previously, was instantly injected into the sword. Swoosh! Another sword thrust out. Although it only brought along a dusky and unremarkable spatial storm, it still easily tore apart the other party's beautiful lightning-like attack when it came into contact with it. After which, it landed on the other party's body. Moreover, this time, Duan Lingtian did not intend to show mercy at all. The tip of the sword was aimed at the young man's head. This scene made Sha Zhenghu, the lord of the Luosha sect, pale. The two inner sect elders of the Tianlong clan also acted immediately and blocked Duan Lingtian's sword in time. Duan Lingtian wins. Duan Lingtian was not surprised that his sword was blocked. Not to mention the Black Dragon Elder and the White Dragon Elder. Even the 10 intersect elders present could easily block his attack. A middle-level Divine Emperor was far more powerful than him. He was only a middle-level Divine King. My current strength is still too weak. If a middle-level Divine Emperor wants to kill me, he may not even need 2 moves. Duan Lingtian sighed when his lethal strike was blocked, yet he didn't feel it was a pity. His figure swayed as he left the combat arena, and only his opponent remained standing in the combat arena with a terrified expression as cold sweat flowed from his body. At the moment of life and death, he did not even have time to admit defeat. He had almost died under Duan Lingtian's sword. Duan Lingtian, you did that on purpose, didn't you? Ho Qingning said mockingly as soon as Duan Lingtian returned to Ding Yan and the other's side. What do you mean on purpose? Duan Lingtian glared at Ho Qingning. Do you think I'm like you? I just couldn't hold back. Ho Qingning rolled his eyes at Duan Lingtian when he heard this. Do you think I'm stupid? You couldn't hold back? Until now, I still don't know how much strength you've hidden. As someone who came from a Devata realm, not a native of a realm of gods, and without the bloodline of a supreme powerhouse, how could you not have a law clone? In Ho Qingning's opinion, whether it was when Duan Lingtian had fought in the Hidden Fog Academy or the Hidden Fog sect, he must have held back. After all, he had never heard of Duan Lingtian using a law clone. It was not a big deal if it was just a law clone. However, since Duan Lingtian's law clone was condensed from the law of space, it was equivalent to a helper whose strength was not much weaker than his main body. Moreover, since it was his law clone, it was not against the rules to join forces with him when they sparred. This was the default rule in the realms of gods. If this was against the rules, then what about the natives of the realms of gods who bullied others with their bloodline? Those who came from a Devata realm and were not natives of a realm of gods had the bloodline of a supreme powerhouse. It was just a matter of how strong or weak the bloodline was. Duan Lingtian had defeated a prodigy from the Luo Sha sect, a divine emperor, with just 2 moves. Although the onlookers were mentally prepared, they were still shocked by Duan Lingtian's speed. It was just 2 moves. For a moment, they felt that Duan Lingtian was more terrifying than the rumors made him out to be. At this moment, even Du Pujuan, a core disciple of the 10,000 Devil sect, had a solemn expression on his face. Even if he fought personally, he was not confident he could defeat his opponent with just 2 moves, unless his opponent underestimated him. The prodigy from the Luo Sha sect was not weak. For a moment, Du Pujuan felt a sense of pressure pressing down on him. At this moment, Du Pujuan was not the only one with a solemn expression. The young sect leader of the Donghua sect, the 7th young lady of the 10,000 Flower Valley, Ji Wucheng of the beginning Frost sect, and the others had similar expressions on their faces. Duan Lingtian's strength had exceeded their expectations. Although Duan Lingtian had defeated his opponent with just 1 move, he had used a technique that was not any weaker than the one he had used earlier. However, his opponent was too weak. Moreover, these people were only god kings and could not see through Duan Lingtian's moves. Therefore, they did not see the difference in strength between Duan Lingtian and his opponent. However, the opponent that Duan Lingtian had defeated now was much stronger than his previous opponent. It was even possible that the prodigy from the Luo Sha sect whom Duan Lingtian had defeated now could be defeated by his previous opponent with just 1 move. The same strength had been displayed. Previously, Duan Lingtian had completely crushed his opponent. Now, he had just barely crushed his opponent. It was a completely different concept. Because of this, although Duan Lingtian's current performance was very strong, the group of god emperors present were not very surprised. This was because in their eyes, Duan Lingtian had not actually displayed more strength than before. His strength was about the same as before. It was just that the difference in strength between his opponent and his opponent was huge. Even the leader of the Luo Sha sect was not surprised, although his expression was dark. This was because he also knew that his disciple was no match for Duan Lingtian. The reason why he did not ask his disciple to admit defeat was that he wanted his disciple to train more. However, although he thought so, he was still very unhappy when he heard Ding Yin say that Duan Lingtian could defeat his disciple within 10 moves. Although he did not think that his disciple could survive 10 moves, it was still unpleasant to hear it from someone else. Since Duanling Tian did not reveal his true strength, the divine emperors present on the scene were just as shocked as before. Their expressions were as calm as water in an ancient well. At the same time, the other 8 people who had fought with Duanling Tian had also finished their matches. Soon, the provisional rankings of the top 15 were out. Next, the 15 people who were defeated just now can challenge the 15 people in front of you. If you succeed in your challenge and successfully fend off the challenges, you will have a chance to re-enter the top 15. Moreover, it will not be a provisional ranking, but a final ranking. Elder Blue Feather Mountain's voice was heard. Next, it was the challenge round. However, after watching the previous matches, the people in the top 15 did not dare to challenge their opponents unless they were very confident in their strength. If they were defeated within 100 moves, not only would they not be able to enter the top 15, but they would also be punished. I really don't understand why there is a punishment. If there was no punishment, I would definitely be willing to give it a try. A young man sighed. When Duanling Tian heard this, he did not think much of it. The Tianlong clan's hidden dragon competition had this rule to test the courage and confidence of the participants. Of course, he also felt that if he knew that he was no match for them, there was no need to challenge them rashly. However, if there was a glimmer of hope, he would definitely challenge them. Now, he heard a few people whispering. They all felt that there was a certain level of hope, but they did not challenge them because they were not confident enough. However, in the end, there were still people who challenged them, including Duanling Tian's opponent, the disciple of the Luosha sect. However, he failed in his challenge. He did not need to be punished after 100 moves. When there were no more challenges, it was only noon, and the ranking battles for the top 15 people and the top 30 began. After an afternoon, the rankings were out. Ding Yin was ranked 28th. That Duanling Tian has entered the top 15. Deep in the night, somewhere in the Tianlong Temple, a slightly gloomy voice sounded in a courtyard, but the voice was not loud. If he enters the top 10 tomorrow, he will kill that Linghu Renjia. Another voice sounded, dignified and indifferent. Chapter 38:12. The next day. If nothing unexpected happened, this was also the last day of the Hidden Dragon competition. On this day, the final ranking of the top 15 would be decided. Therefore, unlike yesterday, the number of inner sect disciples and Tianlong clan elders that had come to the Flame Dragon arena had increased by a lot. Although the number had been increasing before, the increase had been very small. Today was the first day that it was truly lively. The number of Tianlong clan disciples and elders that had come to join in the fun was no less than the number of senior members of the various Divine Emperor forces and the elders of the other new disciples combined. Duanling Tian, take first place. That way, I can brag to others. On the way to the Flame Dragon arena, Ho Qingning said to Duanling Tian with a smile. As he spoke, his eyebrows were raised as if Duanling Tian had already taken first place in the Hidden Dragon competition. Although Ding Yin didn't say anything, when he looked at Duanling Tian, there was some expectation in his eyes. Ling Tian, you brat. When they arrived at the Flame Dragon arena, the voice transmission of the Linghu clan's elder, Linghu Huan, entered into Duanling Tian's ears. If you're able to seize first place in the Hidden Dragon Grand competition, then I won't go back on my word. The high-grade divine sword I lent you is yours. Duanling Tian laughed inwardly. It seemed that Elder Huan really thought that he didn't have a high-grade divine weapon. If he knew that the number of high-grade divine weapons in his possession was more than all the high-grade divine weapons in the Linghu family combined, what would Elder Huan think? Little Tian, that person who sent you a message a few days ago didn't send you another message, right? Dongfang Yannian asked Duanling Tian when he arrived near the Flame Dragon arena with Elder Black Dragon Blue Feather Mountain. Duanling Tian shook his head. No, then it really was a prank. Dongfang Yannian nodded. Otherwise, there's no way he wouldn't send you another message after seeing you enter the top 15. Duanling Tian nodded. He no longer took this matter seriously. He had also thought it through. Linghu Renjia was in the Linghu family, so if one wanted to kill him, one would need at least the strength of a high-level Divine Emperor. If it was only a middle-level Divine Emperor, even if it wasn't an inner sect elder of the Tianlong clan, or the stronger white dragon elder of the Tianlong clan. Even if they could just barely break through the formation, it would be very difficult for them to have enough strength to kill Linghu Renjia. This matter was confirmed by the two white dragon elders, Shui Haichuan and Dongfang Yanian. When the person in charge of the Hidden Dragon Grand Competition, Blue Feather Mountain, arrived, the people who were supposed to be here had basically all arrived. After Blue Feather Mountain arrived, he opened his mouth to announce the competition rules for the top 15 participants of the Hidden Dragon Grand Competition. Currently, the top 15 participants of this year's Hidden Dragon Grand Competition have yet to be determined. For the sake of absolute fairness, we will no longer be the ones to decide on the list of participants. Next, the top 15 will draw lots. The lots will be numbered from 1 to 15. After that, the people who draw lots and the people who draw lots at the back can challenge the people who draw lots at the front. The people who are challenged can rest for a round after fighting one round, and no one else can challenge them. If there is a situation where the person in front of you has just fought a round, and no one can challenge them, then wait for a while, and wait for the person in front to recover his divine power and injuries before challenging him again. Today is the last day of the Hidden Dragon Grand Competition, and the final ranking of the top 15 will be decided. Therefore, there will be no more people fighting separately. Every round will be two people fighting each other. As Blue Feather Mountain's voice fell, he raised his hand, and 15 objects that looked extremely like stones appeared in the air. They were completely black. However, these 15 stones were wrapped in a faint mist, and were faintly discernible. The numbers on them couldn't be seen clearly. Now, the 15 of you will each take an ink profound stone. The numbers on the ink profound stone represent the order of your challenge. The people who draw lots at the back can challenge the people in front of them, and if they succeed, they can replace them. Black profound stone was a material used to refine divine artifacts. Duan Lingtian had heard of it before. It wasn't the kind that was especially rare, and was mostly used to refine low-rank divine artifacts. As Blue Feather Mountain's voice fell, many people immediately began to move, and each of them used their own power to absorb a piece of ink profound stone. Duan Lingtian was in no hurry. Before long, there were only 2 pieces of ink profound stone left. Only Duan Lingtian and the 7th young lady from the Divine King level sect, 10,000 Flower Valley, had not taken any. The 2 of them subconsciously looked at each other, and then moved together, each taking a piece of ink profound stone. After obtaining the ink profound stone, Duan Lingtian glanced at it. 6. At this time, Ho Qingning also came over and said with a mocking smile, Duan Lingtian, your luck isn't too good, you didn't get one. 1. Duan Lingtian shrugged indifferently. If you really want one, you can just challenge it. But I'm in no hurry. Now, I'm sure everyone will take one. As Duan Lingtian spoke, rows of names appeared in the void in front of them. From top to bottom, they were divided into 15 lines. First place, Peng Dong 2nd place, Yuan Yuanjing 3rd place, Hua Tiandu 4th place, Murong Luofeng 5th place, Deng Jinyi 6th place, Duan Lingtian 11th place, Du Pejuan 13th place, 7th young lady 15th place. Ouyang Jianshun, this is the provisional ranking you've drawn from the lots. When the ranking formed by the matrix appeared, Blue Feather Mountain's voice sounded again. Next, if you want to climb up, you have to challenge the people in front of you. If the person in first place can withstand all the challenges and stand until the end, he will be first. And the person in 15th place can also challenge the person in first place. As long as he wins, he will be the new first place, and the people behind him will move down 1 place. If no one challenges him until the end, then the top 15 of the Hidden Dragon Tournament will be decided. Following Blue Feather Mountain's words, Ouyang Jianxin, who drew lot number 15, had already transformed into a sword ray and flashed out. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at the combat ring that had just formed not long ago. This combat ring was surrounded by light, and compared to the combat ring that appeared yesterday, it was clearly better and more solid. And the people that were fighting today were even more powerful. Some people might have already displayed quite a bit of strength earlier, but there were also some people who held back earlier. No one dared to say that the person who quickly defeated his opponent was the strongest. How would you know if this person didn't use his full strength? How would you know that those people who eliminated their opponents weren't intentionally hiding their strength so that they could explode out at a critical moment to gain an advantage? I challenged the person in first place, Peng Dong. Ouyang Jianchen was the third young master of the Ouyang family, a famous young genius around the Tianlong clan. Up until now, the strength he had displayed was not inferior to Hua Tiandu, seventh young lady, and the others. As for whether that was his true strength, it would depend on his performance today. As soon as he entered the arena, he challenged the person with the best luck, Peng Dong, who had drawn lot number 1. Peng Dong was a young man in a loose blue robe. His appearance was ordinary, and his figure was medium, but his eyes were sharp and spirited. At this moment, facing Ouyang Jianchen's challenge, he also entered the arena in a timely manner. Peng Dong did not belong to a divine emperor force, nor a divine king force. He was just a loose cultivator who can reach Peng Dong's level. If he didn't have a fortuitous encounter, his foundation is probably not inferior to Du Pajuan and Hua Tiandu. It's really rare. His elder is also here, a lower divine emperor. While Peng Dong was the center of attention, one of the onlookers also attracted the attention of the crowd. It was a middle-aged man with a medium build. His appearance was 60 to 70% similar to Peng Dong. He had a head of gray-white hair, and although he was not tall, he gave people a feeling that he was as tall as a mountain. He stepped on the void, and a faint yellow light twined under his feet. What he was stepping on was the fusion of divine energy and the law of earth. He's injured. Many of the people present noticed that this low-level godly emperor was injured. Because of this, they could understand why Ouyang Jianchen sent his junior to the Tianlong clan. It was most likely because he did not have confidence in the upcoming heavenly tribulation. He was afraid that if he died, there would be no one to take care of his junior. Under such circumstances, sending him to a powerful force was the best choice. In the realms of gods, many loose cultivators would do this. After a while, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Ouyang Jianchen and Peng Dong made their moves. One of them used a sword, while the other used a saber. For a time, the battle arena was filled with saber lights and sword shadows. The raging power set off a terrifying storm. At the same time, those with good eyesight could easily see that both of them were injured. However, Peng Dong's injuries were more serious. After 100 moves, Ouyang Jianchen stabbed Peng Dong's shoulder with his sword. Peng Dong immediately admitted defeat. When Ouyang Jianchen stabbed Peng Dong, the sword was aimed at his forehead. However, Ouyang Jianchen's sword changed direction midway. As expected of a disciple of an aristocratic family, "You're so graceful. Thank you for showing mercy." Although Peng Dong lost, he accepted his defeat wholeheartedly. This was because Ouyang Jianchen did not use a high-grade divine artifact. Instead, he used a medium-grade divine artifact like Peng Dong. There was no other way. Peng Dong's father was a loose cultivator. Although he was a lower divine emperor, he did not have a high-grade divine artifact. As for Ouyang Jianchen, Peng Dong did not need to guess. He knew Ouyang Jianchen would definitely have a high-grade divine artifact. When Peng Dong admitted defeat and retreated, he looked at Duan Lingtian and shook his head. Duan Lingtian, who seemed to be more famous than Ouyang Jianchen, did not have Ouyang Jianchen's demeanor. Earlier, when he attacked, he almost killed the last disciple of the sect leader of the Rakshasa sect. What's with that look? Duan Lingtian's face darkened when he saw Peng Dong's meaningful look. It was not difficult to guess the meaning behind Peng Dong's gaze. Does he think I'm not as good as Ouyang Jianchen? All right, I'll pull Ouyang Jianchen down from first place in a while. Ho Qingning, who was next to Peng Dong, could not help but laugh when he saw Peng Dong's expression. At the same time, the positions of the two names on the ranking list had changed. Ouyang Jianchen's name appeared in the first place while Peng Dong's name dropped to the second place. The remaining 13 people's names dropped by 1 rank each. Chapter 38:13. After Ouyang Jianchen successfully challenged the first place, it was the turn of the 14th place, who was now the 15th place, to challenge. This person was a disciple from a God King level faction and had made it into the top 15. The only people he could choose to challenge now were those who were ranked 3rd and below. In the end, He chose to challenge Deng Jiani, who was ranked one place behind Duan Lingtian and ranked first. During this time, his gaze swept past Duan Lingtian and the others. The reason why he chose Deng Jiani in the end was because he felt that he had more confidence in challenging this person. Deng Jiani was a genius disciple from a God King level faction. He was quite strong and defeated his opponent after 30 moves. At this time, he also displayed a stronger strength. This Deng Jiani hid a lot of his strength before. It's because he hid his strength that he was targeted. However, judging from the current situation, Deng Jiani's strength is not weaker than the other people in the second tier. I just don't know if he's still hiding his strength. Deng Jiani's further display of strength also attracted the attention of the spectators because the strength he displayed before was somewhat reserved compared to now. With the strength he displayed now, it was enough for him to enter the second tier. Up until now, the surrounding crowd of spectators had divided the top 15 people in the Hidden Dragon competition into 3 groups. The first tier consisted of Duan Lingtian, Misty, Du Pejuan, Hua Tiandu, Ji Wuchang, Ouyang Jinshan. The second tier consisted of Peng Dong, Qin Yuanzheng, Situ Cheng, Murong Luofeng. Now, there was Deng Jiani. The third tier consisted of the remaining 4 people, including the person who challenged Deng Jiani and was defeated. If the challenge failed, the ranking would not change. It's Miss Chi's turn. Miss Chi from the 10,000 Flower Valley was also one of the 2 women who made it into the top 15 of the Hidden Dragon tournament. She was also the stronger of the 2 women. So far, she had defeated her opponents relatively easily. Who will Miss Chi challenge? While many people were curious about this, Duan Lingtian's gaze also fell on Miss Chi. He was also curious about her next choice. He will probably choose the first one. Just as Duan Lingtian's heart skipped a beat, Miss Seven's gaze landed on Duan Lingtian. Then, she said bluntly, I challenged Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian was stunned. The others were also stunned. This 7th young lady, instead of challenging the first-ranked Ouyang Jinshan, actually challenged the current 7th-ranked Duan Lingtian? What happened? This 7th Miss didn't pay attention to anyone before the Hidden Dragon competition began, and only took the initiative to look for Duan Lingtian. Could it be that she went to seek love from Duan Lingtian, and hate was born from love? I don't think so. Duan Lingtian may be handsome, but he's not handsome enough to make a female genius like the 7th young lady so infatuated with him, right? It's hard to say. I have seen many handsome men, but this is the first one with such temperament. The whispers of the spectators entered Duan Lingtian's ears, causing Duan Lingtian to be unable to help but feel a little lightheaded. So, my appearance is actually so attractive? However, when Duan Lingtian's gaze met Miss Seven's gaze, he instantly came back to his senses. Perhaps the other party's challenge had nothing to do with his appearance. Since he was challenged, Duan Lingtian naturally wouldn't avoid the challenge. His goal was to be first. If he avoided the challenge, even if he defeated everyone else, he would at most be second. This 7th young lady went to look for Duan Lingtian before? Ding Yan asked Ho Qingning curiously. Yes. Ho Qingning nodded as he looked at Duan Lingtian and said, she seemed to be looking for Duan Lingtian to meet Elder Shui Haichuan. I wonder what her relationship with Elder Shui Haichuan is. Challenging Duan Lingtian probably has something to do with Duan Lingtian and Elder Shui Haichuan being acquainted. Of course, this was only Ho Qingning's conjecture. However, this battle still attracted the sidelong glances of everyone present, especially the Linghu family's clan elder Linghu Huan, who transmitted his voice to Duan Lingtian and said, Kid, this is the Hidden Dragon Grand Competition. The reward for first place and the reward for later places can't be the same. Don't fail miserably because you have tender feelings for the fairer sex. Women are the most terrifying creatures in this world. Don't be bewitched by her. At the same time that Linghu Huan transmitted his voice to Duan Lingtian to boast, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but glance at him. His deep gaze caused Linghu Huan to feel somewhat guilty. Elder Huan, tell me your story. Duan Lingtian transmitted his voice. This time, Linghu Huan was mute for a moment, then he said in a stuttering voice, What nonsense are you talking about? I've never suffered a loss in the hands of a woman. I'm such a wise and powerful person. How could I possibly suffer a loss in the hands of a woman? Duan Lingtian laughed involuntarily. Did this count as confessing without being pressed? However, Duan Lingtian didn't have the time to continue chatting with Ling Hu Huan, because Miss Seven had already followed him into the arena and confronted him. Divine energy appeared on her body. Who do you guys think will win, Duan Lingtian or Miss Seven? Many of the spectators were extremely curious about this. Based on the strength they've displayed so far, Miss Seven is slightly inferior to Duan Lingtian. I just don't know if this Miss Seven is hiding her strength. Otherwise, she shouldn't be a match for Duan Lingtian. If she's hiding her methods, she might be able to fight Duan Lingtian to a draw. Of course, the prerequisite is that what Duan Lingtian displayed earlier was already his full strength. While the spectators were discussing animatedly, Miss Seven's gaze focused on Duan Lingtian. Following that, her figure swayed, and a green light shot out from her body. Terrifying thick thorny vines swept out and shrouded Duan Lingtian. Miss Seven was skilled in the law of wood among the 5 elemental laws. However, when she first made her move, she did not use the law of wood. Instead, she used another law. Later on, when she encountered opponents who were stronger, she used the law of wood that she was most skilled in. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The thorny vines shot out like giant pythons, opening their bloody mouths as they pounced toward Duan Lingtian ferociously. Moreover, there was a faint blood mist surrounding the giant pythons. As soon as Miss Seven made her move, her strength was even stronger than before. At this moment, the spectators finally realized that she was holding back. Looks like I can't hold back anymore. Duan Lingtian sighed in his heart when he saw how ferocious 7th young lady's attack was. At the same time, a figure suddenly shot out from his body. Surprisingly, it was another person who looked exactly like him. It was his space law avatar. When Duan Lingtian made his move, his clone from the law of space made his move as well. However, this time, his clone from the law of space made his move as well. The only difference was, this time, his clone from the law of space made his move as well. Boom! Boom! Duan Lingtian's original body and the space law avatar made their move together. Although it was only 1+1, the power that was displayed was enough to easily crush Miss Seven's attack. Then, before Miss Seven could react, Duan Lingtian and his original body had already teleported one after another, sandwiching Miss Seven in the middle. Then, without any hesitation, the sword in his hand shone and a space storm raged. Bang! A loud bang reverberated in the air as the vine beneath 7th young lady's feet exploded like a cannonball. The recoil from the explosion pushed 7th young lady up into the sky and vanished before Duan Lingtian's eyes in the blink of an eye. At the same time, Duan Lingtian's space law avatar and his space law avatar collided. However, there was no destructive power because the two of them came from the same source. When they collided, they only merged with each other. She dodged pretty quickly. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. Then, he teleported again with his space law avatar and chased after Miss Seven. At this time, the spectators also recovered from their shock. It's a space law avatar. Duan Lingtian is just like the rumors say. He's not a native of the Mystic Gangland. That's right. People from the realms of gods like us from the Mystic Gangland can't form a space law avatar because of the supreme bloodline in our bodies. This is a space law avatar? I've only heard of it before. Today is my first time seeing it. Many people were shocked when they saw Duan Lingtian's space law avatar. At the same time, some of them recalled the rumor that Duan Lingtian was from a Devata realm. Naturally, most of them had scoffed when they heard the rumor. How could a person from a Devata realm break through and become a god king before the age of 3,000? What a joke. In their opinion, people from the Devata realms who came to the realms of gods were mostly old people. Those who could cultivate to the god king stage before the age of 10,000 were rare geniuses. Even more people felt that it was fake news spread by others. However, after witnessing Duan Lingtian's space law avatar with their own eyes, they finally realized that Duan Lingtian was really from a Devata realm and was not a native of a realm of gods. This is too terrifying. His space law avatar is not any weaker than his true body. Apart from the fact that he doesn't have a prominent grade divine weapon, His space law avatar is no different from his true body. If his space law avatar is given a prominent grade divine sword, its strength will be on par with his true body. As the crowd discussed among themselves, Duan Lingtian gained the upper hand in the battle. After summoning his space law avatar, his strength completely overwhelmed the seventh young lady. After 3 moves, the seventh young lady was completely at a disadvantage. He defeated her with the 5th move. I've lost. Although the 7th young lady was defeated, there was no sign of dejection in her eyes. She looked at Duan Lingtian with a determined expression. Defeating you will be my first goal after joining the Tianlong clan. I'll be waiting. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. However, he was inwardly shocked by the 7th young lady's strength. Based on the 7th young lady's strength, she was stronger than Du Pajuan, Hua Tiandu, and the others. Naturally, Du Pajuan, Hua Tiandu, and the others might not have used their full strength before today. A space law avatar? Interesting. A smile appeared on Hua Tiandu's face. Chapter 38:14. When Duan Lingtian summoned his Law of Space clone, it was as though he had duplicated himself and joined forces with his main body. Under such circumstances, even though Miss Seven was strong, she was still defeated by Duan Lingtian. At this moment, apart from Hua Tiandu and Miss Seven who had just been defeated by Duan Lingtian, the rest of the people in the top 15 had a solemn expression on their faces. It was apparent they did not expect Duan Lingtian to possess such a technique. Duan Lingtian. Du Pajuan's expression was grave. Initially, he thought even if he was not strong enough to defeat Duan Lingtian, it would not be a problem for him to come to a draw with Duan Lingtian. However, it seemed like if he were to fight Duan Lingtian, even if he took every step carefully and did not take the conventional path, the chances of him being defeated would be higher. Damn it! Du Qianjun's expression turned even more ferocious. This fellow actually has such a trump card? He's just a lowly person from a Devata realm. How could he possess such a technique? At this moment, Du Qianjun's rationality was almost consumed by jealousy. He wished he could possess Duan Lingtian and take all of Duan Lingtian's abilities for himself. At this moment, even the high-ranking officials from the various Divine Emperor forces were looking at Duan Lingtian intently. I'm afraid Duan Lingtian is going to rank first in the Hidden Dragon competition. Many people sighed. Although there were still many people who performed well, Duan Lingtian's performance had completely overshadowed theirs. Moreover, Duan Lingtian was not at his limit yet. Currently, his Law of Space clone did not have a Devata artifact to rely on. If he could use a Devata artifact, his strength would rise to another level. After all, would Duan Lingtian lack any Devata artifacts? Even if he only had a prominent Devata artifact, he could still borrow another one. This time, there were 3 elders from the Linghu family. Each of them had at least one prominent Devata artifact. And now, most people were thinking the same thing. The challenge continues. As the Black Dragon Elder Blue Feather Mountain spoke, after 7th young lady's failure, the person ranked before 7th young lady, who was considered to be in the 3rd echelon, also challenged another person who was considered to be in the 3rd echelon. After 100 moves, the 2 of them were tied, and their rankings remained unchanged. After a few consecutive battles, the rankings began to change. Ouyang Jianxin replaced Peng Dong as the new number 1, while Peng Dong fell to number 2. It's Du Pajuan's turn. Who do you think he will challenge? Soon, it was Du Pajuan's turn. After looking at the people in front of him, Du Pajuan decisively challenged another person who had not yet made a move and was recognized as the 3rd echelon. In less than 10 moves, he had defeated the other party. Then, he replaced the other party's ranking and took the 9th place. Du Pajuan fought steadily and surely. He did not rush for quick success. After Ouyang Jianxin, he had successfully defeated his opponent. After Du Pajuan won, the challenge continued. It was Situ Cheng's turn, who had fallen to the 11th place because Du Pajuan had jumped the queue. Situ Cheng came from the Situ family, a Divine Emperor clan. The Situ family was a powerful Divine Emperor clan with a medium Divine Emperor. After Situ Cheng went up, he challenged Deng Jiani and defeated him after 50 moves. Then, the challenge continued. After one challenge after another, it was finally Duan Lingtian's turn. Now, Duan Lingtian had fallen to the 8th place because Deng Jiani had been eliminated. Whoosh! Duan Lingtian went up and successfully attracted everyone's attention. At this moment, almost everyone's gaze fell on Ouyang Jianchen, who was temporarily in the 1st place. They thought that Duan Lingtian would definitely challenge Ouyang Jianchen. In fact, Duan Lingtian did think so. Ouyang Jianchen. Duan Lingtian's gaze fell on Ouyang Jianchen. Ouyang Jianchen instantly turned into a sword light and entered the arena. Then, the sword light turned into an elegant young man. Duan Lingtian. After Ouyang Jianchen entered the arena, he was no longer as calm as before. His gaze was solemn as he looked at Duan Lingtian. Although I don't think I can defeat you, I still want to see the gap between us. Even someone as proud as Ouyang Jianchen could not help but be convinced by Duan Lingtian's strength. Duan Lingtian did not disappoint Ouyang Jianchen. After 3 moves, he suppressed Ouyang Jianchen and defeated him. During this process, he did not let his clone of the Law of Space use a divine artifact. Otherwise, his strength would definitely be stronger. Duan Lingtian has reached the top. Although he's temporarily in the 1st place, I think he'll still be in the 1st place in the end. Everyone present was very confident in Duan Lingtian. Even the Black Dragon Elder, Blue Feather Mountain, looked at Duan Lingtian with a much gentler gaze. It could be foreseen that once a monstrous genius like Duan Lingtian grew up in the future, he would definitely surpass anyone in the history of the Tianlong clan. He was not even 3,000 years old, yet he had such strength. Even among the top god emperor-level forces in Tunglong province, there was no such existence in the current era. Perhaps such an existence had appeared in their history, but it was definitely very rare. In the following challenges, very few people challenged Duan Lingtian. Whether it was Ji Wuchang, Hua Tiando, or the others, none of them challenged Duan Lingtian. In the eyes of others, they knew that they were not a match for Duan Lingtian and were not in a hurry to challenge Duan Lingtian. Of course, this did not mean that they would not challenge Duan Lingtian in the future. However, challenging Duan Lingtian at the beginning was not a good thing for them. If they were injured and their performance was affected, perhaps they would not be able to get the desired ranking. For this reason, Duan Lingtian became a bystander in the upcoming battle. He stayed by Ding Yin and Ho Qingning's side and watched the battle with them. Duan Lingtian, look, this Ji Wuchang is really strong. Facing the challenge of Miss 7, he is not at a disadvantage at all. No wonder he is as famous as Hua Tiando. Duan Lingtian, I think this Du Pijuan is going to lose. I'm afraid he is not a match for Hua Tiando. Sigh. Our Murong family's Murong Luofeng should be able to squeeze into the top 10, right? After a series of challenges, other than Duan Lingtian, who was temporarily 1st place, no one else was challenged in the top 15. The rankings of the people behind him were basically fixed. In this process, the most outstanding was still Hua Tiando. Not only did he defeat Du Pijuan, he also defeated Miss 7, Ji Wuchang, and Ouyang Jianchen. However, Ouyang Jianchen's strength was also not bad. Other than losing to Miss 7, he also defeated Ji Wuchang and was temporarily ranked 3rd. Hua Tianfu was ranked 2nd. The current top 10 rankings were 1st place, Duan Lingtian, 2nd place, Hua Tiando, 3rd place, Ouyang Jianchen, 4th place, Miss 7, 5th place, Ji Wuchang, 6th place, Du Pijuan, 7th place, Peng Dong, 8th place, Situ Cheng, 9th place, Qin Yuanjing, 10th place, Murong Luofeng, and behind her was the 11th place, Deng Jiani. However, including Deng Jiani, other than not challenging Duan Lingtian, the 5 people behind him had basically fought with the people in front of them and were all defeated. Therefore, unless they could defeat Duan Lingtian, they were not fated to be in the top 10. And if they wanted to defeat Duan Lingtian, unless Duan Lingtian went easy on them, they also knew that they were no match for him. So they also gave up the opportunity to challenge Duan Lingtian. Based on the current situation, I'm afraid only Hua Tiandu is capable of challenging Duan Lingtian. Although Hua Tiandu's strength isn't inferior to Duan Lingtian's clones without Devata artifacts, I'm afraid he's not a match for Duan Lingtian. Maybe Hua Tiandu is still hiding his strength. I remember, he hasn't used his bloodline power so far. At this time, many people realized that Hua Tiando, the young master of the Donghua sect, had defeated Ouyang Jinshan, Miss 7, and Ji Wuchang without using his bloodline power so far. Ji Wuchang, Du Pijuan, do you still intend to challenge Duan Lingtian? Just as everyone's gaze passed by Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiando, the voice of Elder Lan Yushan of the Black Dragon sect also sounded. As for the two people who were asked, they shook their heads when they heard this. Ji Wuchang and Duan Lingtian did not have any grudges, and he admitted that he was no match for Duan Lingtian, so he did not feel that there was anything wrong with not challenging Duan Lingtian. However, Du Pujuan's expression was somewhat unsightly. Normally, with the conflict between Duan Lingtian and the 10,000 Demon sect, he would definitely challenge Duan Lingtian. However, he was also worried that Duan Lingtian would hold a grudge and attack him severely. Once Duan Lingtian injured him, the other two people in the top 10 who were ranked behind him might challenge him. At that time, he might fail miserably. He did not know if the two people behind him knew about the conflict between Duan Lingtian and the 10,000 Demon sect, but they did not challenge him until now. It was as if they had intentionally left the opportunity to challenge him until the end. Since that's the case, the next battle for first place will be decided between Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiando. Lan Yushan spoke again. If the rest of you have any objections, you can voice them out. As soon as Lan Yushan finished speaking, no one spoke. The others clearly did not have any objections. After all, Duan Lingtian's strength had been defeated there, and they were wholeheartedly convinced. Since that's the case, let's first confirm the rankings. In the end, Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiando will decide the final first and second place. Lan Yushan said. Up until now, Hua Tiando had fought with almost all of the people behind him and had defeated them. However, as soon as Lan Yushan finished speaking, although one or two people at the bottom of the rankings had issued a challenge, they had all failed in the end. There was no change in the top 10 rankings. The third place to the 10th place had been completely confirmed. The last battle, Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiando's battle. After this battle, the top 10 rankings will be completely confirmed, and this year's Hidden Dragon competition will also be completely over. As Lan Yushan spoke in a clear voice, his gaze was somewhat complicated. In the previous Hidden Dragon competition, the top few people had fought fiercely. However, in this year's competition, Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiando had appeared. Their strength was so strong that it practically crushed everyone else. Lingtian War Reverend, please collect. Lingtian War Reverend is the fastest to update. Chapter 38:15. Hua Tiandu was the young lord of the Donghua clan, a divine emperor-level sect. He was less than 8,000 years old. In the past, everyone said that he was as famous as Ji Wuchang of the Hanchu sect. Only today did everyone know that his strength was far greater than Ji Wuchang's. He was not someone Ji Wuchang could compare to. Even when he defeated Ji Wuchang, looking at Ji Wuchang's expression, it was obvious that he did not expect it. Obviously, Ji Wuchang did not know that Hua Tiandu was hiding such strong strength. Until now, Hua Tiandu had not used the power of his bloodline, but he had defeated a group of young experts, including Ji Wuchang, Miss 7, and Du Pujuan. Previously, they were in the first group. Now it seems that there is an even higher group above the first group. There are only two people in this group, Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiandu. Many people sighed. Based on the strength that Hua Tiandu and Duan Lingtian had displayed, they were not at the same level as Ji Wuchang and the others. Even if Duan Lingtian and Hua Tianfu were placed in the top divine emperor-level forces of Tunglong province, they would be rare geniuses of this generation, especially Duan Lingtian. They even suspected that once the news of Duan Lingtian's age and corresponding strength spread, those top divine emperor-level forces would invite Duan Lingtian to join. At that time, unless Duan Lingtian refused. Otherwise, the Tianlong clan would not dare to keep Duan Lingtian. Those top divine emperor-level forces had divine emperors. They were not comparable to the Tianlong clan, which did not have any divine emperors in this generation. Duan Lingtian. Under the gazes of everyone present, Hua Tiandu's figure flashed to enter the combat ring, and he looked at Duan Lingtian from afar as he smiled lightly. Next, I'll let you and me battle to end this Hidden Dragon competition. Duan Lingtian nodded, and then his figure flashed as he entered the combat ring as well. The two of them stood facing each other, but there was no smell of gunpowder. Instead, it gave off a calm and peaceful feeling. However, in the eyes of the spectators, this calmness was like the calm before the storm. Between the two of them, who do you think is stronger? It's hard to say. Hua Tiandu hasn't used the power of his bloodline yet. According to what I know, his bloodline power is not weak at all. What bloodline does his bloodline power belong to? I don't know about that. I don't know. You said his bloodline power isn't weak? I heard about it. Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiandu entered the arena. Not only were the spectators staring at them, even the Black Dragon Elder, Blue Feather Mountain, and the two White Dragon Elders behind him were staring at them. This would be the Tianlong clan's last battle in this year's Hidden Dragon Grand Competition. After this battle, the champion of the Hidden Dragon Competition would be decided. Duan Lingtian, just give your avatar of the Law of Space a high-grade divine weapon. Hua Tiandu looked at Duan Lingtian calmly and said in a calm tone as the aura of death spread from his body. He was skilled in the Law of Death. As Hua Tiandu spoke, everyone was shocked. Hua Tiandu, what does he mean? Isn't he afraid that Duan Lingtian's avatar of the Law of Space will use a high-grade divine weapon? He's so confident? Where did he get his confidence from? It seems that he might not only have an extraordinary bloodline power, but he might also have some tricks up his sleeve. While everyone was in an uproar, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and smile faintly. It seems that the young sect master is very confident in your strength. As soon as he finished speaking, a spatial storm began to wreak havoc on Duan Lingtian's body. Although Duan Lingtian was confident, he couldn't help but be cautious when facing Hua Tiandu, who was equally confident. One had to know that the strength he'd displayed earlier, even if he'd held back, was already not weak. In this Hidden Dragon competition, it was enough to easily defeat anyone other than Hua Tiandu. If you don't have an extra high-grade divine weapon, I'll give you a chance to borrow one now. Otherwise, you won't be able to borrow it in time. Hua Tiandu wasn't in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he gave Duan Lingtian a chance to borrow a high-grade divine weapon. This scene made the onlookers feel that Hua Tiandu was hiding a lot of his strength. Otherwise, it was impossible for him to be so confident. Duan Lingtian's eyes narrowed into slits. His expression became slightly serious. Young sect master, you don't have to worry about this. Duan Lingtian, today will be the first time I'll show my full strength. Hua Tiandu took a step forward. Immediately, his aura underwent a world-shaking change. Then, a figure shot out from within his body. It was another Hua Tiandu. However, this Hua Tiandu had blood-red eyes. Naturally, this was not Hua Tiandu's law clone. It was an undead clone condensed from the Law of Death's undead clone profundity. It was also known as the Death Clone. This was a different concept from the Law of Death's clone. For example, Duan Lingtian's old friend, Ling Jueyun, was from a realm of gods. Like Hua Tiandu, due to the Supreme Powerhouse's bloodline, it was impossible for him to condense a law clone. It was impossible for him to condense a law clone, including the Law of Death's clone. However, the undead clone was an exception. This was because it was a clone condensed from one of the profundities from the Law of Death. Moreover, its strength was far inferior to a law clone. However, Duan Lingtian saw a layer of blood-red light shone from Hua Tiandu's undead clone as soon as Hua Tiandu formed his undead clone. Moreover, the undead clone's emotionless crimson eyes seemed to have turned lively as well. Swoosh! A divine artifact appeared in the undead clone's hand. Based on the aura it emitted, it was a prominent divine artifact. Hua Tiandu's main body also held a prominent divine artifact. Swoosh! Swoosh! Suddenly, Hua Tiandu and his clone both moved. They both unleashed their attacks. During this process, to the astonishment of the crowd, it was not only Hua Tiandu himself, but even his clone was able to use the laws of death at will. This clone did not look like an undead clone at all. It should be known that an undead clone could not use the law of death at will. It could only use the law of death that had been fused with the law of death. However, the law of death that Hua Tiandu had displayed was only the law of death that had been fused with 3 profundities. Naturally, It was stronger than the other participants of the Hidden Dragon Grand competition. It was not inferior to the law of space that Duan Lingtian had displayed. Hua Tiandu only lacked one profundity from the law of death to fuse with two other profundities. He had already comprehended the fusion of the three profundities. He was only a step away from mastering the fusion of the three profundities from the law of death and reaching perfection in the fusion of the three profundities. As long as he could master the fusion of the three profundities, his strength would increase by leaps and bounds. That's bloodline energy? Hua Tiandu's bloodline energy can turn his undead clone into an existence similar to the law of death's clone. Doesn't that mean he also has the advantage that Duan Lingtian has? He has never used such a technique before. No wonder Hua Tiandu is so confident. With this technique, even if Duan Lingtian gave his clone the law of space a prominent divine sword, it would still be difficult for him to defeat Hua Tiandu. At this moment, apart from Hua Tiandu's father, the leader of the Donghua clan, everyone else, including the other members of the Donghua clan, was shocked. No one had expected Hua Tiandu to have such a technique. Before this, the reason why Hua Tiandu could easily defeat Miss Seven, Ji Wuchang, Du Pajuan, and the others was not because of the advantage that he had displayed, but because his comprehension of the law of space was far superior to Miss Seven's and the others. Now, Duan Lingtian's law of space clone will probably be at a disadvantage against Hua Tiandu even if he has a prominent divine sword to rely on. The law of space that he used earlier was not as strong as Hua Tiandu's. Even if he uses the embryonic form of the Way of the Sword again, he probably won't be Hua Tiandu's match. Hua Tiandu's cultivation is one level higher than his. Under the unblinking gaze of the crowd, Duan Lingtian was also shocked by Hua Tiandu's technique. He had never imagined that Hua Tiandu's bloodline energy could make his clone, which was formed from the law of death's undead clone, become a law of death clone. Moreover, it could also use a prominent divine weapon. It should be known that an undead clone formed from the law of death's undead clone would not be able to use the power of a divine weapon. However, Hua Tiandu's undead clone, which was controlled by his bloodline energy, seemed to have transformed into a law of death clone. Moreover, based on the combat strength displayed by his clone, it was not any weaker than the law of space clone that used a prominent divine weapon. How shocking! The young sect master actually has such a technique. Duan Lingtian exclaimed in surprise. He knew that with Hua Tiandu's current strength, if he were to fight Miss Seven and the others with his full strength, it would be difficult for anyone to be a match for him unless they were fast enough to dodge his attacks. Duan Lingtian, I look forward to the surprise you'll give me. If you only have the technique that you've displayed before, I'm afraid you won't be a match for me. However, my intuition tells me that your strength is not limited to this. When Hua Tiandu and his clone attacked Duan Lingtian together, he did not forget to speak. From his words, one could tell that he held Duan Lingtian in high esteem. However, the current Duan Lingtian did not show the slightest bit of shock when facing the powerful Hua Tiandu. He only appeared surprised. If Duan Lingtian only has the strength that he displayed before, he will definitely lose this battle. Many people sighed. Duan Lingtian did not disappoint Hua Tiandu. Under everyone's gazes, his law of space clone wielded a prominent divine sword and attacked his original body. Similarly, two prominent divine weapons were displayed. His sword doesn't seem to be yours? Linghu family's elder Linghu Huan looked at Linghu Zhengxing beside him and asked with a glare. He had only given Duan Lingtian a prominent divine sword, and he was certain that the sword that Duan Lingtian took out did not belong to his elder brother. It did not seem to belong to Linghu Zhengxing either. It doesn't. Linghu Zhengxing shook his head. I've seen all the prominent divine weapons in the family, including the ones in your hands. This sword doesn't belong to the family. It should be his. Chapter 38:16. His own? Linghu Huan's eyes widened. At the same time, his face was filled with regret. If I knew that this brat had a high-grade divine sword, I wouldn't have made that bet with him. If he really gets first place in the Hidden Dragon Grand competition, my high-grade divine sword will really be his. At that time, he will have two high-grade divine weapons, and I will only have one left. It was also because Linghu Huan didn't know that Duan Lingtian still had many high-grade divine weapons in his hands. Otherwise, he would really go up and take back the high-grade divine sword that he had temporarily lent to Duan Lingtian. Are you showing off to me that you have two high-grade divine weapons? Linghu Zhengxing unhappily glared at Linghu Huan. Even he only had a single high-rank divine artifact. Linghu Huan, on the other hand, was lucky enough to obtain a high-rank divine sword. At this time, while Linghu Huan and Linghu Zhengxing were talking, the situation in the field changed. Whoosh! Whoosh! In front of everyone's eyes, whether it was Duan Lingtian's original body or his doppelganger, the spatial storm on their bodies became even more terrifying at this moment. The three profound meanings of the law of space merged and mastered. None of the profound meanings were excluded. Everything seemed so perfect and perfect. In the blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian's original body exchanged blows with Hua Tiandu's original body, and his doppelganger also exchanged blows with Hua Tiandu's doppelganger. During this process, Duan Lingtian's embryonic form of Sword Dao appeared in a timely manner. For a moment, whether it was his original body or his doppelganger, Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiandu were evenly matched. The scene of Duan Lingtian falling into a disadvantage did not appear. Haha, Duan Lingtian, it seems that my intuition was correct. Hua Tiandu laughed as he fought with Duan Lingtian. I really didn't expect that your attainments in the law of space would surpass my attainments in the law of death. Moreover, there is a difference of nearly 5,000 years between you and me. As he spoke, the smile on Hua Tiandu's face vanished and was replaced by a look of shock. At this moment, he suddenly recalled that Duan Lingtian was less than 3,000 years old. Now that he mentioned it, those who were shocked by Duan Lingtian's attainments in the law of space, who were no weaker than most of the inner sect elders of the Tianlong clan, were suddenly shocked. That's right. Duan Lingtian was less than 3,000 years old. To have such strength before the age of 3,000 in Tunglung province was simply shocking. Even if this Duan Lingtian started cultivating in his mother's womb and comprehended the laws of space, it's impossible for him to have such attainments at such a young age, right? In the realms of gods, I'm afraid only God Emperor or godly venerable God forces could produce such a genius. Don't forget, his attainments in the path of divine pills are not low either. Now that Duan Lingtian had displayed the fusion of all three profundities from the law of space, it was no surprise that it had caused a commotion. In the Sky Dragon sect, even the more outstanding inner sect elders had only comprehended so many profundities of the laws of Heavenly Dragon. In the Tianlong clan, as long as one's cultivation base was at the intermediate Celestial Emperor level and had comprehended the fusion of all four profundities, even if one had only comprehended one of the four profundities, one could become a White Dragon Elder. Of course, if one did not have the power of a bloodline, the requirements would be higher. However, those who could cultivate to the intermediate Celestial Emperor level had the power of a bloodline. Very few people did not. Being able to cultivate to such a level meant that one's innate talent was not bad. Generally, having good innate talent also meant that one's bloodline was not bad and could activate the power of a bloodline. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiandu fought to a draw. Unless I reveal some more trump cards, I won't be able to defeat Hua Tiandu. Duan Lingtian could not help but sigh as he fought with Hua Tiandu. He did not expect the young lord of the Donghua clan to be so powerful. Based on the power that Hua Tiandu had displayed, he was probably not weaker than Yang Qinya, the #1 person in the younger generation of the Thousand Demon clan. Yang Qinya had received invitations from the strongest emperor-level forces in Tunglong province because of his innate talent. It was said that he had already gone to one of the emperor-level forces. I did not expect Hua Tiandu to be so powerful. At this moment, Ho Qingning's expression was very serious. Based on the current situation, it will be extremely difficult for Duan Lingtian to defeat him. Ding Yin nodded in agreement. Of course, Ding Yin was also shocked by Duan Lingtian's power. He did not expect Duan Lingtian to have grown to such a level after 30 years. Was this still the Duan Lingtian that he had fought in the Mist Academy in Wind City? He's so powerful. Among the crowd, there were many people from the Hidden Fog sect. Tang Wuyan, who had passed the Tianlong clan's outer sect disciple assessment and become an outer sect disciple of the Tianlong clan, looked at the purple figure in the field with a complicated expression. As proud as she was, she felt ashamed of her inferiority in front of this young man. Maybe everything is just my wishful thinking. I am not worthy of him. Tang Wuyan sighed. After the hidden dragon competition, I will return my outer sect disciple identity token and leave the Tianlong clan. Return to the hidden fog sect. I, Tang Wuyan, will never leave the hidden fog sect. Duan Lingtian naturally did not know what Tang Wuyan was thinking. Now, Duan Lingtian was thinking about whether he should show his strength and defeat Huatindu. If I show my strength, I will definitely be exposed. There are so many divine emperors here. It will be extremely difficult to hide. I definitely can't use the 7 orifices exquisite sword. Once I use the sword Dao that I have just comprehended, I will probably become everyone's target. The embryonic form of the sword Dao can be said to be my luck, but if I use the true sword Dao, it will be equivalent to announcing to the world that my attainments in the sword Dao are not low. Do I have to use the rudimentary sword Dao of control? But if the rudimentary sword Dao is luck, then the rudimentary sword Dao of control is also luck? Isn't this too much of a coincidence? How many people will believe that? As these thoughts raced through his mind, Duan Lingtian felt a headache coming on. To be honest, if he showed a little strength, he wouldn't lose a single piece of meat. But once he showed some strength, not only would it arouse the jealousy of others, but those who were hostile to him might even take a step further in order to kill him. With the strength I show at my age, once news of this spreads, the strongest God-Emperor level influences in Tung-Lung province will most likely send people to invite me. There's no need to further show my worth. But if I don't further show my strength, it will be extremely difficult to defeat Hua Tiandu and obtain first place in the Hidden Dragon competition. If it was said that at the beginning, Duan Lingtian was only interested in the top 10 of the Hidden Dragon Grand competition and didn't have much interest in the first place, then, after he heard Xue Haichuan speak of the benefits of the first place in the Hidden Dragon Grand competition, he instead wanted to seize the first place in the Hidden Dragon Grand competition this time. Xue Haichuan definitely wouldn't lie to him about this. But if he wanted to obtain first place now, there would be a certain degree of difficulty. Hua Tiandu's strength was beyond his expectations. One had to know that he originally thought that Hua Tiandu's strength was on par with Du Pejuan and Ji Wuchang, but he didn't expect that they were on a completely different level. Just as Duan Lingtian's thoughts raced, he suddenly realized that Hua Tiandu's attacks had suddenly become hurried, as if he was fighting with his back to the wall. For a moment, Duan Lingtian, who didn't have time to unleash his next attack, was continuously pushed back by Hua Tiandu. Duan Lingtian is at a disadvantage? No. Hua Tiandu seems to be in a situation. While the spectators were in an uproar, Duan Lingtian also discovered that the bloody aura around Hua Tiandu's undead clone had actually started to dim. The power displayed by the undead clone had also weakened. I see. Duan Lingtian suddenly understood why Hua Tiandu had suddenly unleashed his strength. It turned out that his bloodline power wasn't enough to support the undead clone. Without the support of bloodline power, the undead clone couldn't be used like a clone of the Edict of Death. When the bloodline power dissipated, the undead clone wouldn't be able to use high-grade divine artifacts. It wouldn't even be able to use ordinary divine artifacts or immortal artifacts. Moreover, it wouldn't be able to use the Edict of Death wantonly. There's no need to further expose my strength. As long as I can endure Hua Tiandu's short burst of strength, I can defeat him. He's already an arrow at the end of its flight. While heaving a sigh of relief in his heart, Duan Lingtian teleported and disappeared from Hua Tiandu's sight. Then, he arrived beside his avatar of the Law of Space and attacked Hua Tiandu's avatar of the Undead, consuming its bloodline power. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sword energies formed by the spatial storms continued to fall on Hua Tiandu's avatar. The bloodline power on the avatar was rapidly being depleted. Although Hua Tiandu's original body wanted to clash head-on with Duan Lingtian with explosive power, as if he wanted both sides to suffer, Duan Lingtian wouldn't let him do as he wished. For a time, Hua Tian was powerless. Duan Lingtian is exhausting Hua Tiandu's bloodline power. It seems like Hua Tiandu's bloodline power is still limited. However, I can confirm that most bloodline powers are inferior to law avatars. Isn't this a little unfair? Why are those who aren't natives of the realms of gods able to form law avatars? There's nothing unfair about it. Since we were born, we've been given cultivation resources and an environment that those from the Devata realms can't compare to. Moreover, our ancestors were supreme powerhouses who came from the Devata realms. At this moment, many people had already guessed the outcome of the battle. Just as everyone had expected, Duan Ling Tian managed to deplete Hua Tiandu's bloodline energy in just 15 minutes. After the avatar of the undead was reduced to its original form, Duan Ling Tian defeated Hua Tiandu in just 2 moves. He had obtained the first place in the Hidden Dragon Grand Competition. Duan Ling Tian defeated Hua Tiandu and obtained the first place in the Hidden Dragon Grand Competition. A message was sent from the Flame Dragon Arena to a certain place in the Tianlong Temple. Immediately, an order was transmitted from that place. Kill Ling Hu Renjia. Chapter 38:17. Duan Ling Tian smoothly obtained first place in the Tianlong clan's Hidden Dragon Competition. Little Tian, congratulations. Dongfang Yannian was the first to congratulate Duan Ling Tian via sound transmission. At the same time, the way he looked at Duan Ling Tian had changed quite a bit. One must know that before this, he was friendly to Duan Ling Tian mostly because of his relationship with Xue Haichuan. But now, the potential that Duan Ling Tian displayed completely convinced him. If he didn't have a certain understanding of Duan Ling Tian's background, he would really find it hard to believe that this was a young genius who wasn't even 3,000 years old. Brother Yannian, apart from the Emperor Connection Divine Pellet, what other rewards are there for first place in the Hidden Dragon Competition this time? Duan Ling Tian asked Dongfang Yannian curiously. Dongfang Yannian smiled and said, the rewards are quite generous. Apart from the Emperor Connection Divine Pellet, there's also, as Dongfang Yannian continued, Duan Ling Tian's eyes gradually lit up. Because apart from a high-quality divine artifact, the rest of the rewards that Dongfang Yannian mentioned were all things that he urgently needed. All of them were items that were helpful to cultivation. Moreover, he could actually enter the Tianlong clan's Chamber of Laws to comprehend the laws for a year. Although a year wasn't a long time, after all, he had stayed in the Linghu family's Chamber of Laws for a whole 3 years. But the Tianlong clan's Chamber of Laws allowed him to comprehend the fusion of 3 profundities. In the Linghu family, Duan Ling Tian had comprehended all the profundities apart from the laws of space in time to the fusion of 2 profundities. With this foundation, if he stayed in the Tianlong clan's Chamber of Laws for a year, he could completely comprehend the fusion of 3 profundities of several laws. Since when did profundities of laws become so easy to comprehend? While Duan Ling Tian was excited, he couldn't help but sigh ruefully. If I can comprehend the other 7 laws apart from the law of time to the point where I can fuse 3 profundities and form a law clone, how strong would my strength be? At this moment, Duan Ling Tian suddenly felt that although the natives of the realms of gods possessed the power of bloodlines, they were not at an advantage compared to his law clones. Not only did he not gain any advantage, he even suffered a huge loss. Duan Ling Tian knew the world was fair. Even if the natives of the realms of gods were at a disadvantage in this aspect, they had other advantages that the people from the Devata realms could not compare to. Among the powerhouses in the Heavenly Dragon sect, how many of them were from the Devata realms? How many of them were natives of the realms of gods who did not possess the bloodline of a supreme powerhouse? Speaking of which, Ker's reincarnation can be considered a blessing in disguise. After her reincarnation, her new body doesn't have the bloodline of a supreme master. Although she doesn't have the bloodline power, she can still form a law clone. Duan Lingtian's eyes were filled with confusion when he thought about Ker. Was Linghu Chuin really Ker? They were very similar. However, unless Linghu Chuin personally confirmed it in front of him, he did not dare to be 100% sure no matter how much he felt Linghu Chuin resembled Ker. I don't know where Ker went, Duan Lingtian sighed inwardly. Congratulations, Duan Lingtian. The Hidden Dragon competition had officially come to an end with the battle between Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiandu. Although Hua Tiandu was defeated, he still maintained his composure. After healing his injuries, he congratulated Duan Lingtian with a smile on his face. I hope you'll take care of me and the Tianlong clan in the future. You're welcome, young sect leader. Duan Lingtian came back to his senses and nodded with a smile at Hua Tiandu, although he was not familiar with Hua Tiandu. Since the other party was so polite, he naturally could not treat him coldly. Moreover, he had no enmity or conflict with the other party. If it was the Du brothers, Du Pejuan and Du Qinjun brothers, he might have directly ignored them. After defeating Hua Tiandu, there was a wave of congratulations from the surroundings. Duan Lingtian could not greet everyone, so he just nodded with a smile. At the same time, he thought of the person who threatened him with a sound transmission that day. Patriarch, I won first place in the Hidden Dragon competition. Duan Lingtian sent a message to Linghu Renjia, and Linghu Renjia quickly replied, I knew you would definitely be first. Congratulations. Patriarch, you should be careful, Duan Lingtian said. Haha, don't worry. Even if it wasn't a joke, it won't be that easy to kill me, Linghu Renjia. Linghu Renjia laughed. Hearing Linghu Renjia's laughter, the worry in Duan Lingtian's heart lessened by a lot. You kid, quickly return the high-grade divine sword to me. At this moment, Linghu Huan also walked up and clamored for Duan Lingtian to return his high-grade divine sword. However, Duan Lingtian said with a smile, Elder Huan, didn't you say that as long as I won first place in this Hidden Dragon competition, you would give that sword to me? What? Are you regretting it? Duan Lingtian asked with a smile. That's because I didn't know you had a high-grade divine weapon. Linghu Huan said unhappily. Duan Lingtian shook his head, and then with a raise of his hand, he really did return the high-grade divine weapon that Linghu Huan gave him, because he really did not lack high-grade divine weapons. Not to mention that he already had one. Even if he won first place in this Hidden Dragon competition, he would still be able to obtain a high-grade divine weapon, and he could choose the type. It was fine if he wanted a sword or a blade. However, seeing Duan Lingtian hand over the sword, Linghu Huan was embarrassed. Kid, I was just joking. A loss is a loss. I, Linghu Huan, am not so unwilling to admit defeat. Linghu Huan waved his hand, and in the end, he did not accept the high-grade divine sword that Duan Lingtian handed over. However, since Duan Lingtian took it out, he naturally did not plan to return it, and in the end, he returned it to Linghu Huan's hands. As for Linghu Huan, he wanted to cry but had no tears. Did he care about this high-grade divine sword? He really did not care. Moreover, he gave Duan Lingtian a high-grade divine sword, which was actually equivalent to a favor. He never thought that with a joke, this favor would be gone. Looking at Duan Lingtian's appearance, he clearly knew that as well. At that instant, Linghu Huan truly felt that he had lifted a rock and smashed it on his own foot. Kid, why don't we make a deal? You still keep this divine weapon? Linghu Huan said with a smile. With the potential that Duan Lingtian had shown, his future achievements would definitely be above his. How could a high-grade divine weapon compare to a favor from Duan Lingtian in the future? However, Duan Lingtian did not pay attention to him. This old man was very bad. He had returned the favor with great difficulty, yet he still wanted him to owe him a favor? What a joke. I'm not stupid. At that moment, Linghu Zhengxing also congratulated Duan Lingtian. Even Linghu Hong, who had not spoken all this time, nodded at Duan Lingtian. His stiff and thin face revealed a rare smile that was uglier than crying. Speak to your elders properly. After today, your elders will no longer be able to stay in my Tianlong temple. The voice of Elder Black Dragon, Lan Yushan, entered the ears of everyone present. Tomorrow morning, there will be people who will go to your temporary residences and bring you to your future cultivation grounds in the Tianlong clan. For the people who obtain the top 100 rankings of the Hidden Dragon competition, there will be elders who will deliver your rewards to you in a few days. In the next few days, it's best that you don't enter closed-door cultivation. Otherwise, if you miss out on the rewards, the clan will not compensate you in the future. After Lan Yushan finished speaking, he left with Dongfang Yannian and the other elder white dragon. Before leaving, his deep gaze fell on Duan Lingtian for a moment before leaving. As for the 10 inner sect elders who were in charge of the Hidden Dragon competition, they also left. The Tianlong clan elders and disciples that came to watch also left one after another at this time. Only a group of new disciples of the Tianlong clan who were participating in the hidden dragon competition and their elders remained to talk. At this time, many people brought their juniors over to get closer to Duan Tian. Exalted Duan, in the future my family's boy will be your junior apprentice brother. I hope you can take care of him a little. Exalted Duan, I also have a daughter who is as beautiful as a flower. Do you want to consider her? Exalted Duan, the current Duan Tian was surrounded by people like a moon surrounded by stars. He was the center of attention. In a corner where he couldn't see, the hidden fog sect's Tang Wuyan had at some unknown time arrived in front of the hidden fog sect's sect master Qian Yin. She said to Qian Yin, "Sect master, I regret this. I want to return to the hidden fog sect." Duan Tian. At some unknown time, Miss 7 from the God King, level sect Myriad Flower Valley arrived in front of Duan Tian. "Now, can you bring me to see Shui Haichuan?" Of course. Duan Tian was surrounded by people. Just as he was preparing to escape, Miss 7's arrival gave him a way out. "Come with me." As his voice fell, Duan Tian brought Miss 7 away. At the same time, he didn't forget to send a sound transmission to Linghu Zhengxing and Elder Heng Huan. "Ding Yin, do you think that Miss 7 has taken a fancy to Duan Tian?" Ho Qingning asked with a smile. As for Ding Yin, he rolled his eyes at Ho Qingning. "What? Are you jealous?" At this time, Murong Yinue looked at Ho Qingning with an unfriendly gaze. Ho Qingning couldn't help but look away in embarrassment. I was just joking." At the same time, news of Duan Tian winning first place in the Hidden Dragon Grand Competition spread like a hurricane through the entire Tianlong clan. Perhaps not many people went to watch the Hidden Dragon Grand Competition. However, there were still many people watching the Hidden Dragon Grand Competition. Many people were waiting for the results. When the results of the Hidden Dragon Grand Competition came out, everyone was shocked. Duan Tian, who isn't even 3,000 years old, won first place in the Hidden Dragon Grand Competition. Duan Tian, who isn't even 3,000 years old and is a middle divine king. He condensed a doppelganger of the law of space, fused the three profundities of the law of space to perfection, and grasped the embryonic form of the way of the sword. Hua Tiandu, who isn't even 8,000 years old and is a high divine king. He fought to a draw with Duan Tian using the power of his bloodline. He was only defeated by Duan Tian when the power of his bloodline dissipated. His strength isn't below the number 1 core disciple of the 10,000 demon sect, Yang Qinya. These two people, I'm afraid that before long, those God Emperor level forces will send people over and extend an olive branch to them. Regardless of whether it was Duan Tian or Hua Tiandu, they both became the focus of attention of the Tianlong clan in the following period of time. At the same time, a crisis was approaching Linghu City, where the Linghu family was located. More accurately, it was approaching the former head of the Linghu family, Linghu Renjia. If you like Ling Tian War Reverend, please bookmark it. Ling Tian War Reverend is the fastest to update. Chapter 38:18. In the Linghu family. Linghu Renjia had a solemn expression on his face after he ended the voice transmission with Duan Tian. It was a stark contrast to the calm expression he had when Duan Tian had sent him the voice transmission. Someone had threatened Duan Tian that if Duan Tian dared to enter the top 10 of the Hidden Dragon competition, they would take his life. Although he also felt that there was a high chance that someone was joking. Nevertheless, he had to be cautious. I didn't expect that at such a critical moment, there would still be Linghu Renjia sighed. Then, he took out a jade slip that was enshrouded in a mysterious light and crushed it. He then muttered, "I only hope that I didn't delay her matters." At this moment, a silhouette appeared in Linghu Renjia's mind. It was a beautiful silhouette, a beautiful woman. However, in the blink of an eye, the beautiful woman changed. She became a young lady, a little girl. I really didn't expect that. The girl who used to chase after me in the past would grow to such an extent today. What exactly did she experience when she went to the world of divine remains? She seems to have changed completely when she came back this time. As Linghu Renjie sighed, a hint of heartache flashed across his eyes. She must not have had a good time these years. It's a pity that she's too stubborn and refuses to say anything. Duan Lingtian was unaware of the situation on Linghu Renjie's side. After he brought Miss Seven to Shui Haichuan's place, he left sensibly without waiting for Shui Haichuan to speak. He returned to his temporary residence in the Firing Dragon Mountain Range. As for the three elders of the Linghu family, he had already informed them, so there was no need for him to bid them farewell. However, to Duan Lingtian's surprise, when he returned to his temporary residence, Ho Qingning was standing outside waiting for him. "Why aren't you going back to your room? Why are you standing here waiting for me?" Duan Lingtian. But now, Ho Qingning seemed to have changed into a different person. He was no longer as frivolous as before. His face was solemn and serious. "Was it your idea?" Duan Lingtian was puzzled. What did he mean? He didn't understand. "Did you ask her to send someone to find my father and ask him to propose marriage to the Morong family?" Ho Qingning asked grumpily. Fortunately, his father had not acted on his own. Otherwise, he would still be in the dark. However, according to his father, if this matter was not resolved properly, it would not be good for their 10,000 Leaves sect. "Aren't you interested in her?" Duan Lingtian came to a sudden understanding, and only now did he realize what Ho Qingning was talking about. "Isn't this just right?" When Ho Qingning heard this, his expression softened quite a bit, but his gaze was still unkind. "I've already asked Third Miss. You've been instigating her since long ago. To think that I misunderstood and thought that you really—" Ho Qingning didn't finish his sentence, but Duan Lingtian couldn't help but laugh. "Why aren't you continuing? If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have known that you have such deep feelings for her. Speaking of which, you should thank me. If this was my hometown, you would have to give me a referral fee." Duan Lingtian smiled. Duan Lingtian's hometown was naturally the Yin Huang realm's Earth, not the mundane realm Saint Region realm. Ho Qingning glared at Duan Lingtian when he heard this, but he didn't continue the topic. "I'm not waiting for you here entirely because of this. Duan Lingtian, I've heard many people say that with your and Hua Tiandu's performance this time, the strongest God Emperor forces in Tunglung province will probably send people to invite you to their place. What do you think? Do you want to stay in the Tianlong clan or go to their place?" Ho Qingning asked. This was also the reason why he was standing here and waiting for Duan Lingtian to come back. "We'll see." Duan Lingtian was stunned for a moment, but then he smiled casually. Ho Qingning asked this question because when he sent 7th Miss to Shui Haichuan's place, Shui Haichuan had also asked him about it and didn't really recommend him to go. Although the development there was better and the competition there was greater, sometimes it wasn't a matter of competition. If Duan Lingtian went there, it would be fine if he was willing to take the initiative to look for a backer, but Shui Haichuan saw that Duan Lingtian didn't intend to become a disciple of anyone. This situation was disadvantageous to Duan Lingtian. In fact, this was similar to what Duan Lingtian had thought before. A large part of the reason why he tried to keep a low profile was because of this. "We'll see when the time comes." Ho Qingning frowned slightly. "Duan Lingtian, I feel that this matter isn't urgent. In the Tianlong clan, you can rely on the Linghu family and elder Shui Haichuan. But if you go to those God Emperor level forces with your character, even if you don't offend them, I'm afraid you'll be in trouble. It's not good for you. I suggest that before you break through and become a God Emperor, there's no need to go to those forces." Ho Qingning gave the same suggestion as Shui Haichuan. "I'll think about it." Duan Lingtian nodded, but didn't give Ho Qingning a definite answer. Finally, under Ho Qingning's worried gaze, he returned to his room. "If those God Emperor level forces really send people, should I go?" After returning to his room, Duan Lingtian sat cross-legged on his bed and considered this question seriously. Brother Haichuan and Ho Qingning's suggestions are good. However, apart from my innate talent and comprehension, I also have the ability to refine pills. If I keep the fact that I can refine limited king-grade divine pills, those God Emperor level forces will fight to get me to join them. After all, even an Emperor-grade divine pill master would find it difficult to refine king-grade divine pills. Duan Lingtian weighed the pros and cons in his heart. Why had he come to the realm of gods in such a hurry? Wasn't it to improve his strength so that he could enter the world of divine offering 300 years later, rescue Ku-er, and gain the recognition of the family behind Ku-er? I'll think about it carefully. Whether it's staying in the Tianlong clan or joining one of those God-Emperor-level forces, there are pros and cons. I'll weigh the pros and cons before I make a decision. For now, I should wait for the rewards of the Hidden Dragon Grand Competition. With this thought in mind, Duan Lingtian was no longer in a hurry. He calmed himself down and closed his eyes to cultivate. That night, apart from the 3 elders of the Linghu family, the people from the other God-Emperor-level forces, and the elders of the Tianlong clan's new disciples were brought away from the Tianlong temple. Early the next morning, Dongfang Yannian, the White Dragon Elder of the Tianlong clan, appeared and brought Duan Lingtian and the other new inner sect disciples to the cultivation area of the Tianlong clan's inner sect disciples. As for the outer sect elders, they were brought away by another White Dragon Elder. In the Tianlong clan, to become an inner sect disciple, the God King stage is the threshold. However, not everyone can become an inner sect disciple after becoming a God King. It also depends on the profundities one has comprehended. Along the way, Dongfang Yannian spoke frankly with assurance. Perhaps all of you came from God-Emperor-level sects. In God-Emperor-level sects, above the inner sect disciples are the core disciples. In our Tianlong clan, above the inner sect disciples are the Azure Dragon disciples. Any inner sect disciple under the age of 10,000 can challenge the Azure Dragon disciple test. If they succeed, they will become an Azure Dragon disciple. Azure Dragon disciples enjoy much better treatment in the sect compared to inner sect disciples. Let's not talk about anything else. Just take the secret chamber of the laws of the sect as an example. Unless an inner sect disciple uses a large amount of sect contribution points to exchange for time to cultivate, they won't be able to enter under normal circumstances. Azure Dragon disciples can enter the secret chamber of laws to comprehend the laws for free every year. When Dongfang Yannian spoke up to this point, the eyes of many people, including Duan Lingtian, lit up. They had all heard of Azure Dragon disciples before coming here. However, it was the first time they had heard of the exact treatment. In our Tianlong clan, there aren't many Azure Dragon disciples. Currently, there are only 70 or so people, and the upper limit is 100. During the most glorious time, the number of Azure Dragon disciples exceeded 100. At that time, the requirement to become an Azure Dragon disciple wasn't just to pass the test, but also to defeat one of the Azure Dragon disciples in order to replace them and become a new Azure Dragon disciple. Unlike now, where you only need to pass the test to become an Azure Dragon disciple, as Dongfang Yannian finished speaking, many people became restless. Dongfang Yannian had also noticed this. Many of you have a chance to become an Azure Dragon disciple. For example, Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiandu. As long as they participate in the test, if nothing unexpected happens, they will definitely become Azure Dragon disciples. As for Ji Wuchang, Du Pijuan, 7th Young Lady, and the others, they also have a chance. This year's Hidden Dragon competition is the most dazzling competition in the history of the Tianlong clan. It's enough to be recorded in the history of the Tianlong clan. For example, in the previous Tianlong Grand competition, the person who obtained first place at that time only had strength comparable to the few of you. As Dongfang Yannian spoke up to hear, he glanced at Ji Wuchang, Du Pijuan, 7th Young Lady, and the others. In an instant, even more people's gazes landed on Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiandu. These two people were, without a doubt, monsters among them. We've arrived. Soon, Dongfang Yannian's voice sounded. At this time, Duan Lingtian also saw that they had arrived within a vast and narrow canyon. On the two sides of the canyon, there were many courtyards with individual houses hidden within. Moreover, in front of these courtyards, there were some blank stone tablets, and some had stone tablets with names carved on them. You can all occupy the courtyards with blank stone tablets in front of the courtyards. However, before you occupy them, you must carve your names on the stone tablets. This way, you can avoid being disturbed in conflict. Hearing Dongfang Yannian's words, everyone nodded. At the center of the canyon, there was an enormous palace. Many people were going in and out, and it seemed to be quite lively. That's the Internal Affairs Hall. The word internal affairs in the internal affairs hall represents the meaning of intersect missions, and not another literal meaning. When he saw Duan Lingtian and the others' gazes land on the palace, Dongfang Yannian timely opened his mouth to explain, "If you want to earn sect contribution points, you can go inside and accept missions." Chapter 38:19. Even though the Tianlong clan didn't have any God Emperor experts, as a clan that had produced quite a few God Emperors in the past, it had a very deep foundation. Even the most supreme God Emperor level powers couldn't compare to it. Precisely because of this, the Tianlong clan had an abundance of cultivation resources that those God Emperor level powers couldn't compare to. But in the Tianlong clan, if one wanted to obtain cultivation resources, apart from the Tianlong clan actively giving them to them, one had to rely on oneself to fight for them. In the Tianlong clan, as long as one had enough contribution points, one could exchange them for cultivation resources that the Tianlong clan could afford. For example, the Emperor fruit that the top 10 of the Hidden Dragon competition had received. It wasn't sold in the External Affairs Hall where the Tianlong clan's outer sect disciples cultivated, but it was sold in the Internal Affairs Hall. However, the price was very high. Comparatively speaking, obtaining the Emperor fruit in the Hidden Dragon competition could be said to be an enormous profit. It was enough to make many of the Tianlong clan's high god kings feel envious and jealous. Everyone, disperse. As Dongfang Yannian spoke, the crowd dispersed. In the end, Dongfang Yannian followed Duan Lingtian into a large courtyard that Duan Lingtian had chosen. He sat down across from Duan Lingtian at a stone table in the middle of the courtyard. This scene was seen by quite a few people. This Duan Lingtian seems to be quite familiar with Elder Dongfang Yannian. Elder Dongfang Yannian is Elder White Dragon. Duan Lingtian has this sort of relationship with Elder White Dragon. Even though he's just entered the Tianlong clan, there are probably very few people in the Tianlong clan who would casually offend him. He's actually familiar with Elder White Dragon. How enviable. Right now, quite a few inner sect disciples were looking at the violet-clothed youth seated across from Dongfang Yannian. All of them had looks of envy and jealousy on their faces. Little Tian. After sitting down, Dongfang Yannian's expression became much more serious. If there's nothing important, don't leave the Tianlong clan. In the Tianlong clan, your safety is guaranteed. But that may not be the case after leaving the Tianlong clan. If you really want to leave the Tianlong clan, you can ask your friend Ding Yan. As long as revered Elder Sikong is willing to help, he can ask a Black Dragon Elder to protect you. With the protection of Elder Black Dragon, unless Vice Sect Leader Shui personally makes a move, no one can kill you. As for Vice Sect Leader Shui, it's impossible for him to personally make a move. After all, he might not have the confidence to kill Elder Black Dragon before Elder Black Dragon sends out a message. We are both high-level deity emperors. Even if his comprehension of laws is stronger, there is a limit to how strong he can be. From Dongfang Yannian's words, he clearly knew that Duan Lingtian's strongest enemy in the Tianlong clan was the Tianlong clan's Vice Sect Leader Shui. Although Vice Sect Leader Shui and Duan Lingtian didn't have any direct conflict, Vice Sect Leader Shui's only daughter was Duan Lingtian's daughter. However, Vice Sect Leader Shui's only daughter was married to the second disciple of the Black Sect's Elder Kuang Tianzheng, and there was enmity between Kuang Tianzheng and Duan Lingtian for killing his disciple, no matter what the truth was. At least, that was what Kuang Tianzheng believed. Moreover, Kuang Tianzheng's dead disciple, Chu Han, was the junior brother of Vice Sect Leader Shui's son-in-law. Vice Sect Leader Shui loved his daughter as much as his own life. As long as his daughter asked for his help in killing Duan Lingtian, and he could guarantee that the news wouldn't be leaked, Vice Sect Leader Shui would most likely be willing to personally make a move. Thank you for your reminder, Big Brother Yannian. Duan Lingtian nodded with a solemn expression. Actually, Shui Haichuan had already reminded him of what Dongfang Yannian had said, so he didn't have any plans to leave the Tianlong clan. Right now, the most important thing for him was to increase his cultivation level. In this world where the strong were respected, without strength, one couldn't even control one's own fate. This feeling made Duan Lingtian feel an enormous pressure, to the point of suffocation. It's good that you understand. Send me a message if you need anything. Dongfang Yannian smiled, then stood up and didn't stay any longer. As for Duan Lingtian, he returned to his room and began to condense his other law clones. He wasn't in a hurry to cultivate, instead waiting for the rewards of the hidden dragon competition to arrive. A few days later, Dongfang Yannian reappeared and personally gave him the rewards. An Emperor Ascension pill. There was also a passage medallion that allowed one to enter the Tianlong clan's law chamber to comprehend laws for a year. Apart from that, there were also many divine pills that could help divine kings cultivate. Although they weren't as valuable as the Emperor Ascension pill, there were many of them, and they could help Duan Lingtian break through to the High Divine King realm. These divine pellets are all relatively rare divine pellets. The Linghu clan doesn't have the recipe for the divine pellets, and I've never refined them before. It's also because of this that I've never consumed these divine pellets in the past. My body doesn't have any resistance to these divine pellets. A brilliant smile appeared on Duan Lingtian's face. However, among these divine pills, the first one he took was still the Emperor Ascension pill. The Emperor Ascension pill didn't need to be taken after reaching the High Divine King realm. It could be taken before the breakthrough. The medicinal energy would be stored in the body and would be released at a critical moment to break through the bottleneck from the High Divine King realm to the lower Divine Emperor realm. This Emperor Ascension pill is truly miraculous. Feeling the Emperor Ascension pill's medicinal energy hidden in his body without the slightest leakage, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but sigh. One had to know that all the divine pills he had refined and condensed, including the Emperor-level divine pills, would still consume some of the medicinal energy even if he tried to prevent it from dissipating. However, this Emperor Ascension pill didn't show any signs of dissipating. Outside Linghu City, a figure appeared like a ghost. It was a skinny old man with a cold expression, and he was looking indifferently at Linghu City not far away. After a long while, he murmured, "Linghu Renjia, the Linghu family. I've long heard of the Linghu family's clan protection formation. It's very impressive. Today, I'd like to see it for myself." As soon as he finished speaking, the old man waved his hand, and a token hanging from his waist flew into his hand, then disappeared. It was obvious that he had put it away into his storage ring. If Duan Lingtian was here, he would surely be able to recognize with a single glance that the command token that the old man put away was shockingly exactly the same as the Black Dragon Elder's command token that hung on the waist of Azure Feather Mountain during the Hidden Dragon Grand competition a few days ago. It was the identity token of the Black Dragon Elder of the Tianlong clan. I owe Vice Sect Master Shui a favor. This time, you can only consider yourself unlucky. When he spoke again, the old man's figure flickered, and he entered Linghu City like a ghost. After arriving in the sky above Linghu City, the old man looked down at the entire city. At the same time, his footsteps slowed down, as if he was taking a leisurely stroll in the sky. As expected, it looks like the so-called Hidden Fog Sect's Grand Elder self-destructing the small world within his body isn't a false rumor. As the old man muttered to himself, his feet swayed, and he arrived outside the Linghu family's mansion on the east side of Linghu City in the blink of an eye. Then, he stopped in his tracks. His gaze fell on the Linghu family's mansion. At the same time, he extended his divine sense and entered the Linghu family's mansion. A moment later, his eyebrows furrowed. This array formation is indeed mysterious. In the past, I only heard that the Linghu family once produced an amazing array master, but I didn't expect his level to be so high. With this level of skill in setting up formations, even if he's compared to me, he's not much inferior. However, there are still many flaws. As he spoke, the old man's tone became more arrogant. If I want to break this array, it will be quite troublesome, but temporarily paralyzing this array formation isn't a problem. With the array formation paralyzed, it won't be difficult to find that Linghu Renjia. As the old man muttered to himself, his hands danced. Divine power was shot out from his hands, silently fusing into the array formation and tampering with it. During this process, the Linghu family's mansion was quiet. It was obvious that no one noticed anything unusual. After about a quarter of an hour, the old man stopped. "It's done." Whoosh. In the next moment, the old man's figure blurred, and he entered the Linghu family's mansion like a ghost. He appeared in front of a Linghu family elder who was drinking tea in the courtyard. Before the Linghu family elder could react, the old man had already placed a hand on his shoulder. A terrifying divine power surged into his body and suppressed the Linghu family elder's divine power. Mid-divine emperor? The Linghu family elder was only a higher divine king. When he sensed the divine power, which was even stronger than that of the Linghu family elders, his heart trembled. Who was this middle-level divine emperor? How had he entered the Linghu family's mansion? The Linghu family's mansion was said to be difficult for even a higher divine emperor to enter. Take me to Linghu Renjia. If you dare try anything funny, you'll definitely die. As the Linghu family elder's heart trembled, the old man spoke in an indifferent tone. He did not dare to doubt the old man's words. In the end, the Linghu family elder brought the old man to the mansion of the former patriarch of the Linghu family, Linghu Renjia, out of fear of death. Bang! When the old man's divine sense swept out and detected the aura of a lower divine emperor in the front yard of Linghu Renjia's mansion, he guessed that it was Linghu Renjia. With a wave of his hand, the Linghu family elder's body trembled and turned into a mist of blood. Even his robe was reduced to fine powder and disappeared like dust. Whoosh! The old man's figure flashed, and he entered the front yard of Linghu Renjia's mansion. Within the pavilion in the courtyard, Linghu Renjia, who had just sensed the commotion outside, had a drastic change in his expression. Before he could recover from his shock, he saw an incomparably swift figure appear before his eyes. Who are you? Linghu Renjia's pupils constricted, and his expression changed again. This person had ignored the protective array of the Linghu family and intruded into the Linghu family's mansion? Linghu Renjia? The old man did not respond to Linghu Renjia. Instead, he asked a question. Are you from the Tianlong clan? Linghu Renjia took a deep breath and asked in a low voice. Looks like I'm right. The old man muttered to himself. Then, he released his divine power. With a wave of his hand, a green wind blade whizzed out, creating a tearing sound in the air. Linghu Renjia did not seem to be able to react in time. Of course, this was also because the difference in strength between the two was too great. Whoosh! A beautiful figure appeared silently in front of Linghu Renjia. The old man's attack, which could easily kill an ordinary middle-level god emperor, had just arrived in front of the beautiful figure when it was crushed into nothingness. Chapter 38-20. Su Tongyuan was the Black Dragon Elder of the Tianlong clan. He was a high-level celestial emperor who specialized in arrays and was recognized as one of the top 3 array masters in the Tianlong clan. He was not weak either, having comprehended the fusion of 2 of the 4 profundities of the Law of Wind. Just now, when he attacked Linghu Renjia, he had used the Wind Blade profundity to fuse 3 other profundities of the Law of Wind. It was a fusion of 4 profundities. Coupled with his high-level celestial emperor divine power, killing a low-level celestial emperor was as easy as killing a chicken. However, to his absolute surprise, his attack was actually blocked by someone. Moreover, the other party did not even make a move. All she did was appear in front of Linghu Renjia, and an invisible protective divine power shattered his attack. The aura contained in the protective divine power caused his expression to change drastically. A celestial emperor powerhouse. At this moment, Su Tongyuan looked at the beautiful woman in front of him, his eyes wide open. She was actually a celestial emperor powerhouse. Even the Tianlong clan did not have a celestial emperor powerhouse. Although the Tianlong clan was now a celestial emperor clan, it relied on the celestial emperor powerhouses that had appeared in the past to retain the title of a celestial emperor clan. Of the Tianlong clan's celestial emperor powerhouses, with the exception of a few who had disappeared without a trace, the rest had died in the 1,000-year tribulation. Even the few celestial emperors who had disappeared without a trace had most likely perished in the 1,000-year tribulation. However, because they did not return to the Tianlong clan to undergo the tribulation and did not send any news back to the Tianlong clan, the Tianlong clan did not know about their situation and still thought that they had gone missing. Tianlong clan's Black Dragon Elder Su Tongyuan greets my lord. Su Tongyuan took a deep breath and tried to calm his restless and frightened emotions. However, it was not difficult to see his fear from his trembling body. How could this be? How could this be? Why would a celestial emperor appear here? Wasn't the Linghu family just a god-emperor family? Normally, he could easily destroy a godly emperor-level clan that didn't even have a medium godly emperor, let alone killing their patriarch, who was just a low-level godly emperor. But now, what was going on? He had found the person, and had also made a move to kill the other party. However, an immortal emperor had appeared and saved him. A god emperor from a god emperor clan? Are you kidding me? I'm not dreaming, am I? Even though Su Tongyuan had lived for tens of thousands of years and his heart was as still as water, at that very moment, he couldn't remain calm in front of an emperor god expert who could kill him with a flip of his palm. Now, he just wanted to survive. The Sky Dragon sect's Black Dragon Elder token that he had hidden before entering the city had also been hung back on his waist. In the beginning, Huang Xiaolong didn't want others to know that it was a Sky Dragon sect intersect elder who came to the Linghu family manor to kill Linghu Renjia. It wouldn't sound good if word got out. Once the matter blew up and he was found to be the culprit, even if the Sky Dragon sect didn't kill him, they would punish him. This matter wasn't big, but it wasn't small either. After all, the Linghu family was a godly emperor-level force affiliated with the Tianlong clan. But now, he only wanted to use his status as the Tianlong clan's Black Dragon Elder to save his life. Perhaps the Tianlong clan's Black Dragon Elder had a history with the Tianlong clan and would spare his life out of respect for his status as the Tianlong clan's Black Dragon Elder. The Tianlong clan's Black Dragon Elder, a dignified god emperor, actually came to the small Linghu family to kill someone. I really want to know how my brother offended you to make you kill him as soon as you saw him. The beautiful woman wore a long yellow dress that made her look elegant and graceful. Although she looked to be in her 30s, she still had an outstanding charm that was breathtaking. As soon as the beautiful woman finished speaking, Su Tongyuan's body trembled violently, and his expression changed again. Brother? Linghu Renjia was this god emperor expert's brother? Was this a joke? No. There must be a mistake somewhere. Su Tongyuan sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at the middle-aged man behind the beautiful woman. My lord, I made a mistake. I made a mistake. The person I'm looking for isn't him. Su Tongyuan was so frightened that he didn't even know what to say. Elder Su, are you sure you made a mistake? Linghu Renjia also spoke at this time. His eyes were full of ridicule as he looked at Su Tongyuan. Although this is the first time Linghu Renjia, have met Elder Su for a long time. I know that Elder Su is not only the Black Dragon Elder of the Tianlong clan, but also one of the top 3 array masters in the Tianlong clan. This time, you came to kill me. If I'm not wrong, you're here on Vice Sect Leader Shue's orders, right? Linghu Renjia looked at Su Tongyuan with a mocking gaze as he spoke. Of course, although he looked like this on the surface, he couldn't help but tremble in his heart. The Black Dragon Elder. The Black Dragon Elder had actually personally come to kill him. Fortunately, he had called Renfeng back in time. Otherwise, he would have died just now. That's right. Vice Sect Leader Shui asked me to do it. After confirming that the middle-aged man in front of him was Linghu Renjia, Su Tongyuan's heart trembled. At the same time, he didn't care if he had betrayed the person behind him. Now, he only had one thought, and that was that the God Emperor in front of him would spare his life. It hadn't been easy for him to cultivate until now. With his strength, it wouldn't be difficult for him to go through another 8 or 10,000-year heavenly tribulations. In other words, he had at least more than 10,000 years to live. Even if he knew that he would most likely die under the heavenly tribulation after 10,000 years, he still cherished his life. Clan leader Linghu, I have no enmity with you. It's precisely because I owe Vice Sect Leader Shui a favor that I've lost my mind to find trouble with you. Please forgive me, Clan Leader Linghu. As long as Clan Leader Linghu is willing to let bygones be bygones, I, Su Tongyuan, will do my best to fulfill Clan Leader Linghu's request. Su Tongyuan bowed to Linghu Renjia. Linghu Renjia was just a low-level divine emperor that he didn't even put in his eyes. Now, his life was in the hands of Su Tongyuan. At this moment, there was only regret in Su Tongyuan's heart. If he had known this would happen, he would never have agreed to Vice Sect Leader Shue's request to attack Linghu Renjie. Humph! At this moment, before Linghu Renjie could speak, the beautiful woman in front of him had already let out a cold snort. Then, she waved her hand disdainfully. In an instant, the violent energy caused the space to fold as if it would collapse at any time. Then, it landed on Su Tongyuan's body. Su Tongyuan's expression changed drastically, and the divine power in his body surged wildly. However, in front of the energy that enveloped him, his power was like the difference between a stream and the waves. It wasn't worth mentioning. Whoosh! As the energy swept past, Su Tongyuan turned into ashes as if he had evaporated from the world. Not even the blood mist was left behind. The place where he stood before was as clean as before. While Linghu Renjie heaved a sigh of relief, he looked at the beautiful woman in front of him with a complicated gaze. Renfeng, although I suspected that you were already an emperor god, the gap between us was too big, so I couldn't be sure. You must have had a hard time in the divine offering land all these years, right? When Linghu Renjie reached the end of his sentence, there was a hint of heartache in his eyes. The beautiful woman in front of him was his biological sister, Linghu Renfeng. When Linghu Renfeng was young, she had left the profound Handle land and went to the divine offering land. She had not returned for many years. It was only recently that she had returned. If it wasn't for the fact that Linghu Renfeng's soul orb was intact, Linghu Renjie would have thought that his sister had died. Brother, there are some things that I don't want to talk about. Linghu Renfeng shook her head gently. In a pair of autumn eyes that Linghu Renjie could not see, there was a fierce look in them at the right time, as if she had thought of something unpleasant. All right, Linghu Renjie sighed. Girl, you've grown up now, and you're much stronger than me. I'm not as good as you. If you don't want to talk about it, I won't force you. But I still want to say, if you're unhappy outside, you can return to the clan. I don't expect you to lead the clan to become a God Emperor clan. I only hope that you can be as happy and carefree as before you went to the divine offering land. Back then, you were so happy, so happy. But now, before Linghu Renjie could finish his words, Linghu Renfeng interrupted him. Brother, why did the Black Dragon Elder of the Tianlong clan attack you? Also, he said that it was the Tianlong clan's vice sect master Shui who ordered him to kill you? How did you offend him? When her voice fell, Linghu Renfeng turned around and looked at Linghu Renjie. The fierce look in her eyes disappeared and was replaced by traces of coldness. Now, in this world, there were only 3 people that she cared about: her brother and her 2 daughters. Although she already had the intention of going to the Tianlong clan to kill that vice sect master Shui, she still found it strange that her brother would provoke such an existence. The difference in status was too big. Linghu Renjie didn't conceal anything from his younger sister, and he slowly spoke of the sequence of events. After he finished speaking, he laughed in contempt. That vice sect leader Shui is obviously worried about Duan Ling Tian's growth, and that's why he's unwilling to have him charge into the top 10 of the Hidden Dragon Grand competition. I really didn't expect that a little guy who's not even 3,000 years old could make him do this. What I didn't expect even more was that he would stand up for Kuang Tianjin. When he finished speaking, Linghu Renjie's eyes were filled with coldness. Is it because of others? Linghu Renfeng suddenly understood. She knew that her brother had always been steady and wouldn't offend the higher-ups of the Tianlong clan. Right. Suddenly, Linghu Renjie thought of something. He looked at Linghu Renfeng. Renfeng, does Chuyin have another name? Xianing Xue? What Linghu Renjie didn't expect was that after hearing his words, Linghu Renfeng's eyes instantly turned red. At the same time, the divine power in her body started to become restless. A terrifying aura spread out, causing Linghu Renjie, a low-level divine emperor, to tremble and be sent flying. After a while, the restless aura on Linghu Renfeng's body finally calmed down. At this time, the courtyard of Linghu Renjie's residence was in a mess, like a ruin. Renfeng, what happened to you? Linghu Renjie barely managed to stop his body, but his face that had turned red from the pressure of the aura just now did not ease up. Brother, how did you know? Xianing Xue? Linghu Renfeng's eyes were red as she looked at Linghu Renjie. Xianing Xue was her other daughter, the daughter who was taken away when she was still an infant. Chapter 38:21. Linghu Renjie was also a little stunned by his sister's loss of composure. And now, facing Linghu Ranfeng's question, Linghu Renjie also faintly realized that something was wrong. The name Xia Xuaning seemed to be a little sensitive to his sister. Was it because his niece Chuyin was really Xia Xuaning, Duan Lingtian's wife? Or was it because of something else? I heard it from Duan Lingtian. In front of his sister, Linghu Renjie didn't intend to hide anything. And whether his niece was Duan Lingtian's wife or not, that was the only way to confirm it. Duan Lingtian? Hearing Linghu Renjie's words, Linghu Ranfeng's emotions eased a little, but she couldn't help but frown slightly. Just now, I felt that this name was a little familiar, as if I've heard it somewhere before. Linghu Renjie smiled bitterly. Previously, when Chuyin went to Junlin City with Elder Qing Zhe, she was stopped by him on the street. Many people knew about this matter. Although he didn't tell his sister must have heard about it. I remember now, it's him. Linghu Renfeng nodded, then asked, why would he suddenly mention the name Xianing Xue? Even now, when Linghu Renfeng mentioned the three words Xianing Xue, her emotions fluctuated slightly. This was because she was trying hard to control herself. He said that Xianing Xue was his wife. Linghu Renjie sighed. That day, it was because he saw Chuyin, who looked exactly like his wife and had a similar temperament, in Junlin City that he thought she was his wife. Then, he stopped her on the street. Later, he came to Linghu City to confirm whether Chuyin was his wife or not. Later, he left the Hidden Fog sect and came to our Linghu family. Linghu Renjie told the whole story in one breath, including the rumor that Duan Lingtian had told him about his wife being separated from him. It's actually him. And now, after Linghu Renjie finished listening to her brother, Linghu Renjie, her gaze became absent-minded. When she spoke again, even Linghu Renjie was puzzled. Why did his sister keep repeating this? What was going on? However, he did not know that Linghu Ranfeng's current state of mind was extremely complicated. This was the first time she had heard of the name Duan Lingtian. However, she knew very well about her other daughter, Xia Xuaning. Her eldest daughter, Xia Xuaning, was unwilling to marry Yun Qingyan, the young master of the Yun family in the Divine Offering Land. She had committed suicide and passed away ever since. It was also at that time that she completely gave up on that man, the head of the Xia family, Xia Yu. He even thought that he would never cross paths with him again in this life. In fact, they would never know that he had another daughter. Furthermore, they would never know that she, Linghu Renfeng, was still alive. Back then, when Linghu Renfeng left the Profound Handle Land and went to the Divine Offering Land, she accidentally met Xia Yu, who was not the head of the Xia family at that time. Even though she knew that he had a wife and a son, she did not regret it. Later on, she became pregnant with Xia Yu's child. At that time, she thought that it was fine for her to put down her pride and become Xia Yu's concubine for the sake of the child in her womb. However, she did not expect that Xia Yu's first wife would order someone to kill her and take away her two children. In the end, she was lucky enough to escape. However, she only managed to take away one child, Linghu Chuyin. It was also because of that disaster that Linghu Chuyin was afflicted with a chronic illness when she was still an infant. Every once in a while, her current memories would disappear without a trace. After that, Linghu Renfeng brought her youngest daughter everywhere to look for a cure. At the same time, she did not forget to inquire about the Xia family in the Divine Offering Land. She wanted to know how her eldest daughter was doing. When she learned that her eldest daughter had become the eldest daughter of the Xia family and was doted on, she was completely relieved. At the same time, she thought that as long as her eldest daughter was well, she would accept it no matter how difficult it was for her. However, she did not expect that thousands of years later, she would hear that her eldest daughter had committed suicide and passed away. Since then, she had been on the verge of despair. She wanted to go to the Xia family to see how Xia Yu would take care of his daughter. However, before she could see Xia Yu, she was stopped by Xia Yu's first wife. She said that she was already a dead person in Xia Yu's eyes. If she insisted on letting Xia Yu know that she was still alive, her youngest daughter would not be able to live either. As for her eldest daughter, Xia Yu's first wife, told her that there was hope for her to reincarnate. At that time, although she was extremely angry, she still gritted her teeth and endured the grievances and pain in silence for the sake of her youngest daughter. It was not until many years later that she heard that the eldest daughter of the Xia family, Xia Xuaning, had returned that she finally heaved a sigh of relief. Her daughter had returned. However, not long after, she heard that her eldest daughter had entered the planar battlefield to escape her fate. Later on, she heard that after her eldest daughter was found by the Xia and Yun families, she had mysteriously disappeared in order to escape the search of the two families. At that time, Linghu Renfeng, who had just painstakingly cured her youngest daughter's illness, wanted to send her youngest daughter back to her maternal family, the Linghu family, which she had not returned to for many years. She went to the planar battlefield to look for her eldest daughter. However, her youngest daughter was unwilling to leave her side. Moreover, her youngest daughter and eldest daughter were twins, so they had a certain telepathy with each other. Perhaps they could help each other find their older sister. Therefore, she brought her youngest daughter into the planar battlefield of the profound Handle land to look for the spatial barrier that led to the divine, offering land and wait for an opportunity to break through the spatial barrier. Back then, she had also used this method to return to the profound Handle land in the Linghu family. I didn't expect him to be such a sentimental person. For Ning Shui, he came from the mundane world to the profound Handle land. Moreover, he even has the cultivation of a divine king. Linghu Renfeng murmured, "Right now, he seems to be only slightly over 700 years old, right? Slightly over 700 years old?" Upon hearing Linghu Renfeng's words, Linghu Renjie was stunned. "Renfeng, you said, Duan Lingtian is only slightly over 700 years old? Isn't he over 2,700 years old? 2,700 years old?" Linghu Renfeng was stunned when she heard this. Then, she glanced at Linghu Renjie and said, "It seems like that kid knows how to conceal his strength. Brother, don't you know that some divine pills can conceal one's bone age?" Linghu Renjie was enlightened when he heard Linghu Renfeng's words. Then, he thought about what his younger sister had muttered earlier. Linghu Renjie asked, "Renfeng, based on what you said earlier, could Chuyin really be Duan Lingtian's wife, Xia Xuaning?" "No." Linghu Renfeng shook her head. Then, as Linghu Renjie was still in a daze, she said, "Brother, since you're fine now, I'll take my leave. As for that deputy clan leader Shui of the Tianlong clan, I'll take care of him." As soon as she finished speaking, Linghu Renfeng did not wait for Linghu Renjie to reply. Her figure flashed, and she left like a ghost. Only Linghu Renjie was left standing on the spot with a confused look on his face. As a god-level clan, the Tianlong clan's protective array was extraordinarily strong. Even though the Linghu family had once produced an array master, the protective array of the Linghu family's protective array was far inferior to the protective array of the Tianlong clan. The protective array of the Tianlong clan was said to be unbreakable by ordinary god-level experts. Today, however, a figure came from beyond the heavens and barged into the protective array of the Tianlong clan at an astonishing speed. Boom! Rumble! The protective array of the Tianlong clan shook, and waves of terrifying killing energy appeared. "If you don't stop the array in 3 breaths' time, I'll annihilate the Tianlong clan." A cold voice sounded, and it spread throughout the Tianlong temple. Everyone in the Tianlong clan was alarmed, and they were extremely shocked. Waves of terrifying energy fluctuations descended from above the Tianlong temple. Bang! A loud sound reverberated, and the killing energy formed by the protective array was shattered. It could not withstand a single blow. At the same time, the terrifying energy fluctuations descended, causing the 9 mountain ranges of the Tianlong temple to tremble, as if an earth-shattering earthquake had occurred. "Which God Emperor are you? Lord God Emperor, why have you come to the Tianlong clan? Lord God Emperor, you..." Figures soared into the sky from various parts of the heavenly dragon sect. Many of them spoke loudly. Although their voices were filled with anger, they were doing their best to suppress it. These people, without exception, were all experts of the Tianlong clan, and they were all high-level divine emperors. However, although they appeared, no one paid them any attention. At this moment, in a valley of the Tianlong Temple, a figure who had just stepped into the sky was enveloped by an invisible force and fell down. Who is it? The person who was pressed down was a middle-aged man with a dignified face. His expression suddenly changed, and he shouted sternly at the same time. Bang! However, even though the middle-aged man tried his best, he still could not resist the force falling from the sky. He was pressed into the ground and sank into it. Whoosh! A beautiful figure silently appeared in front of the middle-aged man. At this moment, the middle-aged man sank into the ground as if he was lying there. Looking at the beautiful woman in front of him, his expression changed greatly. God Emperor Expert. Just now, it was you? The middle-aged man was the Tianlong clan's vice-clan leader, Xuemingji. Xuemingji, as the vice-clan leader of the Tianlong clan, was so strong that he was even stronger than the Black Dragon elders of the Tianlong clan. In the entire Tianlong clan, even the strongest people could not suppress him like this. Now, he was almost certain that the beautiful woman in front of him was a genuine God Emperor Expert. When he thought about how she had crushed the Tianlong clan's great protective array, his heart trembled again. This was not something an ordinary God Emperor could do. Su Tongyuan is already dead. The beautiful woman was Linghu Renfeng, who had come to the Tianlong clan after leaving the Linghu family. She looked down at Xuemingji and said indifferently. When Xuemingji heard this, his heart trembled and his pupils shrank. You are? Chapter 38:22. At this moment, Xuemingji's heart was filled with despair. Although the person in front of him hadn't revealed her identity, when she said that Su Tongyuan was dead, he realized that Su Tongyuan's death was most likely related to what he had asked Su Tongyuan to do. However, he couldn't figure it out. Didn't he just ask Su Tongyuan to kill the patriarch of a God Emperor clan that didn't even have a God Emperor? Why did he provoke such a powerful God Emperor that caused his heart to palpitate? At this moment, Xuemingji also noticed that the divine sense he extended out to seek help was completely sealed off by an even stronger divine sense. It was even to the extent that even his transmission was blocked, and he was unable to send it out. This wasn't hard to figure out from the fact that no one had come to him for a long time. His transmission must have been blocked. Linghu Renjie is my elder brother from the same father and mother. Faced with Xuemingji's anxious inquiry, the beautiful woman, Linghu Renfeng, calmly replied. Although Xuemingji had already mentally prepared himself and guessed that the God Emperor before him was most likely here for the Linghu clan and Linghu Renjie, when he heard the other party's words, Xuemingji's heart was filled with despair. This God Emperor powerhouse was actually Linghu Renjie's younger sister? How could a small God Emperor clan produce such a powerful God Emperor? Why hadn't he heard of this before? At this moment, Xuemingji's heart was filled with disbelief and fear. He had ordered someone to kill the elder brother of this God Emperor expert before him. To be able to die at the hands of Lord God Emperor, I, Xuemingji, have not lived in vain. Xuemingji's eyes were filled with despair as he spoke bitterly. I'm dead. I'm definitely dead this time. He had actually asked someone to kill this God Emperor's elder brother. If he were him, he definitely wouldn't let him, the instigator, off. As for why they could come to him, it wasn't hard to guess that Su Tongyuan must have sold him out. Of course, he didn't blame Su Tongyuan, because if he were Su Tongyuan, he would definitely expose the mastermind in order to survive. However, based on the current situation, although Su Tongyuan had betrayed him, he was still dead. Under such circumstances, how could he possibly survive? If that girl hadn't married that disciple of Kuang Tianzheng, if I hadn't been soft-hearted and interfered in this matter because that girl had begged me, I wouldn't have fallen into this situation. At this moment, Xuemingji's heart was filled with regret. Of course, he also knew that there was no medicine for regret. Now, he didn't even have the heart to beg for mercy. The other party had even killed Su Tongyuan. So how could he, the person behind the scenes, be let off? Just as Xuemingji was about to lose all hope, Linghu Renfeng calmly said, "Who said I wanted to kill you?" These words caused Xuemingji to be dumbstruck at first, but then his face was filled with ecstasy. "Sir, you won't kill me?" I don't care what enmity you have with Duan Lingtian. At this moment, Linghu Rinfeng indifferently looked at Xuemingji and said, I don't care how you deal with Duan Lingtian. He's only a guest of the Linghu family, and he's already left the Linghu family. His life and death have nothing to do with me. However, if you dare to make a move against a member of the Linghu family again, I will definitely kill you. Do you understand? As Linghu Rinfeng finished speaking, his deep gaze stared into Xuemingji's eyes. Currently, Xuemingji's face was filled with the joy of surviving a calamity. Hearing Linghu Ranfeng's question, he hurriedly replied, I understand. I understand? Sir, don't worry. From today onwards, as long as it is a member of the Linghu family with the surname Linghu, I will definitely be courteous to them and will definitely not make a move against them. I hope you'll do as you say. Otherwise, no matter how deeply you hide, I'll still be able to find you. After Linghu Rinfeng finished speaking, he disappeared without a trace, disappearing in front of Xuemingji's eyes. At this moment, Xuemingji was finally able to control the divine power in his body. Just now, his divine power had been completely suppressed by his opponent, and he was unable to move. His body shook, and the first thing Xuemingji did after coming out of the crater was to pick up some dirt and fill in the human-shaped crater. He didn't want anyone else to know about what had happened today. After filling up the crater, Xuemingji's face was filled with fear. After surviving a calamity, he looked around and felt that this world was so beautiful. Why didn't he feel this way before? Luckily, from what she said, as long as I don't attack anyone from the Linghu family with the surname Linghu, everything will be fine. As for dealing with Duan Lingtian, she won't care. Xuemingji heaved a sigh of relief, but at the same time, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Since that's the case, I still can't let that Duan Lingtian go. That Duan Lingtian, I had no enmity with him in the past. But this time, because of him, I was almost killed by that God Emperor. I can't find that God Emperor for revenge, and I don't dare to find trouble with the Linghu family. But that doesn't mean that I can't find trouble with him. Even the God Emperor couldn't protect him. What do I have to fear? A murderous intent flashed in Xuemingji's eyes. Ever since he had started cultivating, this was the first time he had been so humiliated. He had been pinned down in a pit, but since he was weaker than the other party, he could only accept it. Moreover, because the other party was too strong, he didn't dare to think about revenge. However, when he thought about the cause of this incident, and the fact that the God Emperor had no intention of protecting Duan Lingtian, he couldn't help but want to kill Duan Lingtian. Moreover, even if I don't kill that Duan Lingtian, he'll definitely find out about this from Linghu Renjia of the Linghu family. He'll definitely know that I'm the one who wants to kill him. Such a young genius with so much potential. If he doesn't die, when he grows up in the future, the one who dies will be me. I have to kill him in the cradle. When he thought of this, the murderous intent in Xuemingji's eyes grew even stronger. At the same time, he sent a message to his son-in-law, who was also the second disciple of the inner sect elder, Kuang Tanjing. Find your master and come to my place together. I have something to tell you. Xuemingji didn't intend to tell anyone about the arrival of the God Emperor. After all, this was an extremely embarrassing matter. However, he still wanted to warn Kuang Tianzheng and his disciple that they could target Duan Lingtian in the future, but they couldn't have any thoughts about the Linghu family. He didn't want that God Emperor to vent his anger on him because of Kuang Tianzheng and his disciples' foolish actions against the Linghu family. He didn't think that he would be so lucky next time. An earthquake occurred in the Tianlong temple. Other than those who were in seclusion, everyone else was alarmed. Duan Lingtian was also startled awake. Walking out of his room and into the courtyard, Duan Lingtian easily noticed that a group of inner sect disciples had gathered in the air and were discussing animatedly. Is it the arrival of a God Emperor? I think so. A God Emperor is too scary. He directly attacked and forcefully broke our Tianlong clan's protective array. He even threatened to destroy our entire Tianlong clan if we don't stop the array. It's obvious that the array has been stopped. That God Emperor is probably not an ordinary God Emperor. I heard that even an ordinary God Emperor wouldn't be able to break our Tianlong clan's protective array. Hearing these discussions, Duan Ling Tian recalled the voice that had reverberated throughout the Tianlong clan. The owner of the voice was obviously a woman. Although she was a woman, she was more domineering and fierce than a man. With just one sentence, she had made the Tianlong clan stop the array. Now, the voices of the Tianlong clan's higher-ups were still echoing in the air above the Tianlong temple. These people were all greeting the other party, but it seemed that the other party was ignoring them. Whoosh! Duan Lingtian teleported and appeared next to two people in the air. They were Ho Qingning and Ding Yan. Duan Lingtian, a god emperor. A god emperor. Ho Qingning was clearly excited, and his tone was full of excitement. I heard them. Duan Lingtian was speechless. Why are you so excited? Those who don't know might think that the god emperor is someone to you. Hearing this, Ho Qingning laughed awkwardly. I was just a little too excited and forgot myself. Emperor god experts, to me, are existences of legends. Although she sounds young, if she's willing to acknowledge me as her godson, I'll definitely kneel down and call her godson. A god emperor. If I can acknowledge such a godson, who in Tung Lung province would dare to provoke me in the future? As Ho Qingning spoke, his face was filled with yearning. Ding Yan, who was beside him, intentionally took a few steps back, as if he didn't know this guy. Duan Lingtian also had a look of disdain and disdain. This guy, why didn't he realize before that he was so immoral? Pa. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian saw a flash in front of his eyes, and Ho Qingning disappeared. Then, he heard a crisp sound. Bang! The loud sound attracted the attention of a group of people, including Duan Lingtian. They looked in the direction of the sound and saw Ho Qingning, who was embedded in the mountain wall at the side of the valley, with blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. Now, Ho Qingning was embedded in the mountain wall. Other than fear, there was only shock in his eyes. The reason being that he had just received a voice transmission. I'll teach you a lesson this time. If you dare to speak nonsense again, I'll kill you with one slap. He was familiar with this voice. It was the voice of the female god emperor who had just arrived at the Tianlong clan and destroyed the Tianjin clan's great sect protection array. She was the one who had stopped the Tianlong clan from activating the great sect protection array. At this moment, Ho Qingning was panicking. He didn't expect that a casual joke from him would cause the god emperor to attack him. Were all god emperors so petty? What's going on? Who attacked him? Just as the group of inner sect disciples were wondering who had sent Ho Qingning into the mountain wall, Duan Lingtian, who had used his divine consciousness to check that Ho Qingning was only slightly injured, heaved a sigh of relief. Almost at the same moment, he heaved a sigh of relief. Duan Lingtian felt his palms sink as if something had dropped, and he instinctively grabbed it before focusing his eyes to look at it. Only then did he notice that it was a spatial ring. At the same time, a woman's voice came into his ears. It's the God Emperor. Duan Lingtian's eyes narrowed the moment he heard the voice. Chapter 38:23. Do your best. That's all I can do for you. After the voice transmission entered his ears, it did not speak again. However, Duan Lingtian could tell that this voice belonged to the female god emperor who had threatened to destroy the Tianlong clan if they did not comply with the order to deactivate the Tianlong clan's grand protective formation. Duan Lingtian looked around when he heard the voice, but he did not see anyone. He did not even know how the other party had delivered the spatial ring to him. While Duan Lingtian was still looking around, a voice once again echoed throughout the Tianlong clan. Let's go. The scenery of the Tianlong clan isn't bad. It was the voice of the god emperor again. Duan Lingtian was puzzled when he heard the voice. On the other hand, Linghu Renjia, who had climbed out of the mountain wall with great difficulty, had a look of lingering fear on his face. As for the vice-clan leader of the Tianlong clan, Shuemingji, who had been warning Kuang Tianzheng and his disciple, his expression changed instantly. At the same time, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Since the god emperor had left, it meant that the other party had no intention of making things difficult for him. Left? Just like that, this god emperor intruded into the Tianlong clan with great fanfare just to look at the scenery? What else could it be? Don't tell me you think he's up to something? A god emperor of this level has never appeared in the history of the Tianlong clan. Yes, a god emperor who could ignore our Tianlong clan's grand protective formation is definitely not an ordinary god emperor. Not far from Duan Lingtian, a group of inner sect disciples were discussing fervently. Their voices were filled with shock. A god emperor. Even though they were from a god emperor level sect like the Tianlong clan, they had never seen one before. This was because the Tianlong clan was a god emperor level sect that did not have a god emperor in the current generation. Only god emperors had appeared in the past. In the planes of gods, celestial emperor level sects like these were considered outdated celestial emperor level sections. Of course, even if it was an outdated god emperor level sect, it was still a god emperor level sect. Even other god emperor level sects with god emperor level experts wouldn't dare to act rashly if they didn't have complete confidence. As the saying went, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Even if it was an outdated god emperor level sect, which didn't have any god emperor experts in the current generation, who knew if their god emperor ancestor had any good friends who were still alive. If there were god emperors, or even ultimate gods among those people, they might not be able to stand up for their friend's sect. This was not the first time something like this had happened in the history of the realms of gods. For example, in the mystic Handle land, there was once a god emperor level sect with many god emperors that exterminated a god emperor level clan that had passed its prime. After that, a god venerable expert acted and killed all the god emperors of that god emperor level sect. He even implicated all the people who had acted against that god emperor level clan. After that incident, that god emperor level sect had completely fallen. Moreover, this wasn't the only case. It was also because of these cases that even those outdated emperor god level powerhouses didn't dare to casually make a move against him. As for ultimate god level sects, they couldn't be bothered to deal with those outdated god emperor level sections. Moreover, if ultimate god level sects really wanted to make a move, it didn't matter if the god emperor level sects were outdated or not. In their eyes, they couldn't even withstand a single blow. Who is she? Why did she give me the spatial ring? What's in the spatial ring? Just as the group of inner sect disciples were discussing, Duan Lingtian also claimed ownership of the spatial ring in his hand. He then extended his divine consciousness into the spatial ring and looked at the space inside. The space in the storage ring was very large, and there was a small mountain of divine stones in it. It was much more than the divine stones in his possession. The divine stones in his possession, including the divine stones in the spatial ring, definitely exceeded 3 million taels. So many divine stones. While his heart trembled, Duan Lingtian's gaze landed on other things. It wasn't difficult to notice that there were divine fruits, divine herbs, and many elixir bottles among the other things. Moreover, there were many of them. Duan Lingtian casually opened a few elixir bottles. Other than 1 or 2 elixir bottles that he didn't recognize, the rest of the elixir bottles were all emperor-level divine pills. Moreover, they were all emperor-level divine pills that could aid his cultivation. Other than that, there were a few divine weapons. There were sabers, swords, spears, and staffs. All of them were upper-grade divine weapons. In the corner of the spatial ring, there was a crimson long whip that was surrounded by light. Duan Lingtian extended his divine consciousness and could feel the spiritual energy within it. This is an artifact soul? Duan Lingtian's expression changed. This crimson long whip was an upper-grade divine weapon with an artifact soul. However, this artifact soul wasn't complete. It was similar to the divine weapon that Wu Feng obtained in the past. It wasn't complete yet. It could be said that even if all the other things in the spatial ring were added together, their value wouldn't be comparable to this upper-grade divine weapon with an artifact soul. Who exactly is she? Why did she give me these things? Duan Lingtian was confused. He couldn't figure out who the other party was. Why would she give him so many things? Moreover, they were all good things. This was especially true for the upper-grade divine weapon with an artifact soul. In the realms of gods, even a group of ordinary god emperors would fight for it. How unlucky. Ho Qingning returned to Duan Lingtian and Ding Yan's side. He smiled bitterly and said, "Is a god emperor so stingy?" Fortunately, she showed mercy. Otherwise, I'm afraid she would have killed me with that slap. Ho Qingning said as he looked at his right shoulder. There was a palm print left behind by a slender hand. His robes were in tatters, and his skin was filled with blood. No wonder I was wondering why you suddenly disappeared. So it was that god emperor who did it. Ding Yen turned pale with fright. You brat, you really managed to escape with your life. Who said otherwise? Ho Qingning sighed. His face and eyes were still filled with fear. Everyone, disperse. At this moment, a loud voice rang from the sky above the Tianlong temple. It was so loud that it seemed to resound throughout the Tianlong temple. Then, under everyone's watchful eyes, the sect protection formation that enveloped the Tianlong temple rose again. However, at this moment, the sect protection formation was no longer as mysterious and sacred as it was in the past. It was not invincible. As long as it was a god emperor with sufficient strength, they could easily destroy it. Vice clan leader, Elder Su Tongyuan is dead. In the cultivation place of Xuemingji, the vice clan leader of the Tianlong clan, Huang Tianzheng, received the news. His expression changed as he looked at Su Tongyuan. Elder Su Tongyuan is dead? Xuemingji raised an eyebrow, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. It can't be that coincidental. I just contacted him and told him to come back, and he died on the way back? As Xuemingji spoke, he took out a pile of soul orb fragments from his storage ring. Then, his eyes turned cold. Who was it that dared to kill Elder He Long of the Tianlong clan? As soon as he finished speaking, Xuemingji stood up with a murderous aura radiating from his body. This matter must be investigated. I'll go find the clan leader now. Before Huang Tianzheng could react, Xuemingji disappeared in a flash. Only Huang Tianzheng and the young man beside him remained. The young man was none other than Huang Tianzheng's second disciple and Xuemingji's son-in-law, Zhongcan. Do you think this is a coincidence? After Xuemingji left, Huang Tianzheng sent a voice transmission to Zhongcan. Vice clan leader Xue just said that he learned from a good friend that ancestor Linghu Renjia of the Linghu family was very close to that good friend of his. He told us not to think about dealing with Linghu Renjia and the Linghu family. After that, Elder Su Tongyuan died. Elder Su Tongyuan couldn't have been killed by his good friend, could he? Huang Tianzheng guessed. Master, it's fine if you and I talk about this in private, but please don't tell anyone else. If my father-in-law finds out about this, I'm afraid he won't be happy, Zhongcan said solemnly. Zhongcan solemnly said, moreover, the death of a black dragon elder is no small matter to our sky dragon sect. Of course, I understand. Huang Tianjing nodded. Then, a cold light flashed in his eyes. In any case, Vice Clan leader Xue only told us not to deal with those from the Linghu family. Duan Lingtian can still be dealt with. Moreover, based on Vice Clan leader Xue's attitude, it's obvious that he wants to kill Duan Lingtian himself. He doesn't need Miss Xue to persuade him like before. However, this is also strange. How did Duan Lingtian suddenly become a thorn in Vice Clan leader Xue's side? Huang Tianzheng was clearly puzzled. No matter what, this is a good thing. Zhongcan smiled. Father-in-law wants to kill Duan Lingtian. This is good news for us. As for those from the Linghu family, as long as they don't provoke us, we don't have to deal with them. That's true. Huang Tianjing nodded. Ho Qingning originally thought that Duan Lingtian would definitely make fun of him after he was taught a lesson by the God Emperor because of his blabbering. However, Duan Lingtian had no intention of dismissing him. Instead, he seemed to be absent-minded. Duan Lingtian, what's wrong? Ho Qingning asked curiously. Ding Yin also felt that Duan Lingtian was acting a little strange. Nothing. Duan Lingtian came back to his senses and shook his head. However, he was still very confused. Who exactly was that God Emperor powerhouse? Why did he suddenly give him a storage ring with so many precious items in it? Is it that Yu Qiushuan? Duan Lingtian suddenly thought of the young girl he met in Wind City, Duan Xiaoyu, and the beautiful woman named Yu Qiushuan. However, just as this thought appeared in his mind, it was extinguished by him. The voice just now was completely different from Yu Qiushuan's voice. Moreover, Yu Qiushuan shouldn't be a god emperor. Moreover, if she really wanted to give him these things, she could have done so long ago. There was no need for her to wait until now. Who are they? Thinking back to how familiar, intimate, and defenseless Duan Xiaoyu was with him, Duan Lingtian felt that he didn't just look like her brother. The other party gave him the feeling that he knew him. Chapter 38:24. Duan Lingtian racked his brains for a long time, but he still couldn't figure out why the female god emperor would take such good care of him. Moreover, he couldn't figure out why Qiao Yu acted as though she had known him for many years. Not only did she speak to him with great familiarity, but she also acted as though she had known him for many years. He could still remember that she was so familiar with him that he couldn't get used to it. It was as though all these people knew him. However, he was certain that he didn't know these people in the past, and he had nothing to do with them. What's going on? Duan Lingtian was extremely puzzled, and the more he thought about it, the more confused he became. Another half a day passed before he finally calmed down. He restrained himself from thinking too much and took out the Emperor-grade divine pellet that female god emperor gave him. He consumed it and started cultivating. The divine pills that the female god emperor gave him were all divine pills that he had never consumed before. Moreover, they were all emperor-grade divine pills that could aid god kings in their cultivation. It was as though she knew that he needed these divine pills. As for ordinary divine pellets, she didn't give him any. Perhaps it was because she didn't have any ordinary divine pellets. With this batch of divine pills, my cultivation base will be able to advance to the upper divine king stage. Although I won't be able to rely on this batch of divine pills to cultivate to the upper divine king stage, it will allow me to reduce the distance I have to travel. Taking a deep breath, Duan Lingtian closed his eyes and started cultivating. A look of gratitude flashed across his eyes. Although he didn't know the other party's identity, he was grateful that she had helped him so much. As for whether there was a problem with the divine pellets, he didn't think about it. After all, with the other party's strength, even if she wanted to kill him, she wouldn't need to spend so much effort. A single slap would be enough to kill him several times over. The Linghu family. Linghu Renjie received a message from his younger sister. I didn't kill the vice-sect leader of the Tianlong clan. However, from now on, he won't dare to make a move against you or anyone from the Linghu family. Just as I told you before, don't tell Duan Lingtian that he sent someone to kill you. The reason I kept the vice leader of the Tianlong clan alive was because I wanted to use him as a whetstone for Duan Lingtian. If Duan Lingtian dies in his hands, it can only mean that he has a short life and can't become strong. If you can't become strong, even if you don't die in the Tianlong clan, you'll still die in other places. When he breaks through to the God Emperor realm, you can tell him that his wife isn't Chuyin, but Chuyin's twin sister. Also, when that time comes, tell him that his wife is trapped in the dimensional battlefield of the Divine Remains land, and there's no news of her at all. Although she's still alive, she could die at any time. Previously, I brought Chuyin back to the Linghu family because I wanted to entrust Chuyin to you, and then go to the dimensional battlefield of the Divine Remains land to look for my eldest daughter. However, Chuyin didn't want to stay and insisted on going with me, so I had no choice but to bring her along. Now that the matter here is settled, I'll go to the dimensional battlefield of the Divine Remains land again to look for Xuening. Linghu Renfeng's message caused Linghu Renjie's expression to change again and again. At this time, he finally understood why Duan Lingtian would mistake his niece for his wife. It turned out that it was because Duan Lingtian's aura and his niece's aura were twins. To be precise, Duan Lingtian's wife was also his niece, the eldest daughter of his younger sister, Linghu Renfeng, trapped in the dimensional battlefield, and there's no news of her? After hearing Linghu Renfeng's words and regaining his senses, Linghu Renjie's expression changed completely. The dimensional battlefield was a place where even a god emperor could die. Moreover, he did not think that his niece was a god emperor. For existences below the level of a god emperor, the lower their cultivation, the more dangerous it was for them in the dimensional battlefield. Once they lost contact in the dimensional battlefield, it meant that they were in grave danger and could easily die. However, even if I let Duan Lingtian know about this now, it'll only increase his burden. In fact, with his character, he might even think of a way to go to the dimensional battlefield of the Divine Remains land immediately. At this thought, Linghu Renjie dismissed the idea of telling Duan Lingtian about this. Even if his younger sister, Ling Hu Ranfeng did not say anything, he would still do so. The dimensional battlefield was too dangerous. With Duan Lingtian's current cultivation, there was only a slim chance of survival if he entered. The Greater One sect was the closest God-Emperor force to the Tianlong clan. Like the Tianlong clan, it was also a God-Emperor force that did not have a God-Emperor expert in the current generation. Its strength and foundation were comparable to the Tianlong clan. At this moment, in the Greater One sect's conference hall, a group of higher-ups, including the sect master of the Greater One sect, had gathered. I've gathered everyone here to inform everyone. In order to advance further and produce a God-Emperor expert, the Greater One sect is preparing to officially launch an Emperor War against the Tianlong clan. The sect master of the Greater One sect stood in front of the main seat and said in a deep voice, "An Emperor War." As soon as the sect master of the Greater One sect said this, there was an uproar below. An Emperor War was a battle of life and death between two God-Emperor forces. An Emperor War was usually carried out in an independent dimension, and this dimension was provided by the few God-Emperor forces that controlled the Tunglong province. The so-called Emperor War referred to a battle of life and death between two God-Emperor forces that did not have a God-Emperor expert. If one side initiated the battle, the other side could refuse, but once they accepted, they would be on opposite sides. An Emperor War was an opportunity for God-Emperor forces that did not have a God-Emperor expert, an opportunity to become a God-Emperor. Those who were half a step into the God-Emperor realm but had not been able to break through to become a God-Emperor for a long time could very likely smoothly break through to become a God-Emperor during the course of the Emperor War and in the process of exchanging blows with the other God-Emperor forces of the same level. Once a God-Emperor was born in one of the God-Emperor forces during the Emperor War, the Emperor War would end. An Emperor War was to produce a God-Emperor. Sect Master, why so sudden? Yes, Sect Master. Isn't this too sudden? Moreover, the Tianlong clan's strength is not weaker than our Greater One sect. Once an Emperor War starts, I'm afraid both sides will suffer great losses. Sect Master, do the Great Elders know about this? Among the Greater One sect's upper echelons present, many of their expressions changed. Once the Emperor War started, all of them had the responsibility to enter the Emperor War plane and fight with the experts of the Tianlong clan. Moreover, they may die inside. If it was not necessary, they really did not want to start an Emperor War. Moreover, they could not leave the Greater One sect because of the Emperor War, because, with the help of the Greater One sect, after they broke through to the God-Emperor realm, they had to make a heart demon blood oath according to the Greater One sect's requirements. Once the Greater One sect started an Emperor War, they must participate. If they did not participate, or if they wanted to leave the Greater One sect to avoid the war, only death would await them. The Heart Demon Blood Oath could not be violated. Once the Emperor War started, they would have no way out. This is also the will of the Grand Elders. The Greater One sect master said in a deep voice, since 10,000 years ago, the Tianlong clan has challenged our Greater One sect 3 times in a row, but we have refused. This time, our Greater One sect has taken the initiative to challenge the Tianlong clan. Presumably, the Tianlong clan will not refuse. The Tianlong clan's strength is not stronger than ours, but they dared to challenge us 3 times in a row. Could it be that our Greater One sect is really as timid as a mouse? The Greater One sect master's tone was incomparably indifferent. Back then, the Tianlong clan's 3 Emperor Wars did not start because many of the Greater One sect's higher-ups had stopped them, and he had always supported it. Seeing that many of the higher-ups were about to move, as if they wanted to stop it, the Greater One sect master said in a cold voice, "This Emperor War will not be decided by your vote." Since ancient times, the Greater One sect has a rule. Once the sect master and the strongest Great Elders support the Emperor War, there is no need for other people to vote. As the Greater One sect master's voice fell, many of the Greater One sect's higher-ups voiced their doubts. Sect master, this time even Elder Luo supports the Emperor War? Elder Luo, one of the current Great Elders of the Greater One sect, was one of the strongest existences in the Greater One sect. In the past, the Tianlong clan had challenged the Greater One sect 3 times, and the other Great Elders had also stopped it, but on the 3rd time, only Elder Luo had stopped it. This time, I am one of the initiators of the Emperor War. Before the master of the Greater One sect could speak, an aged figure silently appeared beside the master of the Greater One sect, and the master of the Greater One sect hurriedly bowed to him. Greetings to Martial Granduncle. The old man was the Greater One sect's great elder, Luo Qijan. As Luo Qijan's voice fell, many of the Greater One sect's higher-ups present turned ashen. Even Elder Luo supports the Emperor War? This time, it seemed that they could not avoid it. At the same time, Luo Qijan said coldly, "This time, the other great elders and I have carefully considered the Emperor War against the Tianlong clan. In terms of the strength of the older generation, our Greater One sect is not weaker than the Tianlong clan. In the past, in terms of the strength of the younger generation, our Greater One sect is also not weaker than the Tianlong clan. However, a few days ago, in the Tianlong clan's hidden dragon competition, two monstrous geniuses appeared, Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiandu. The performance of these two monstrous geniuses in the Tianlong clan's hidden dragon competition, I believe you all have heard of it. Let me ask you all, with their monstrous talents, is there a chance for them to break through and become god emperors in the future?" When Luo Qijan's words came out, everyone fell silent. A moment later, someone questioned, "Elder Luo, perhaps in the near future, they will leave the Tianlong clan and enter the top god emperor forces in Tunglung province. In that case, if the Tianlong clan loses them, it will not be easier for them to produce a god emperor expert than our Greater One sect. Once the Tianlong clan produced a god emperor expert, according to the rules of Tunglung province, as a neighboring god emperor sect of the Tianlong clan, the Greater One sect must move away from their current location. A god emperor force with a god emperor expert could occupy a wider territory in Tunglung province, and the nearby god emperor forces must avoid them. Chapter 38-25. The War of the Sovereigns originated from the War of the Strongest. In the realms of gods, the War of the Strongest was a tradition. The War of the Strongest was a battle to the death between godly venerable rank forces. Moreover, it was carried out under the witness of the sovereigns in a separate realm created by the sovereigns. Of course, looking at the history of the realms of gods, the number of War of the Strongest could be counted on one hand. This was because it was too tragic. In a war of the life and death, the sovereigns from both sides might have fought to the death without the birth of a sovereign. Since then, both sides had suffered great losses and could not recover from the setback. Of course, there were some godly venerable rank forces that managed to produce a sovereign, but they had to pay a heavy price. As for the godly venerable rank forces that had fought against them, they had also suffered great losses and might not be able to recover from this setback. Because of this, there was a saying that was very popular in the realms of gods: victory and defeat are due to the War of the Strongest. The War of the Strongest was the highest level of battle in the realms of gods. The War of the Strongest was personally provided and hosted by the sovereign. However, due to the high risk, not many godly venerable rank forces dared to initiate the War of the Strongest. Similarly, not many godly venerable rank forces dared to accept the War of the Strongest from other godly venerable rank forces. In fact, compared to the War of the Strongest, the War of the Sovereigns and the War of the Sovereigns were more intense. Whether it was the War of the Sovereigns or the War of the Sovereigns, they originated from the War of the Strongest. Similar to the War of the Strongest, the War of the Sovereigns was for the birth of a godly venerable. The War of the Sovereigns was for the birth of a god emperor. The War of the Sovereigns was carried out by the godly venerable rank forces that did not have a godly venerable. The War of the Sovereigns was carried out by the godly venerable rank forces that did not have a god emperor. Whether it was the War of the Sovereigns or the War of the Sovereigns, it was all about courage. However, due to the fact that there were more godly venerable rank forces than higher godly venerable rank forces, the frequency of the War of the Sovereigns was much higher than the War of the Sovereigns. As for the War of the Sovereigns, the frequency was even higher for the same reason. There were so many outdated godly emperor forces in all the divine planes that those outdated godly venerable gods could not compare to. Tai sect. Inside the assembly hall. If that's the case, you're all hoping for a fluke. You think that Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiandu might leave the Tianlong clan and join our Tunglung province's top god emperor forces? Luo Qijian sneered. Suddenly, the group of Greater One sect higher-ups who had just said similar words fell silent, because they also knew that this was just a fluke. With Hua Tiandu and Duan Lingtian's talent, it would have been a piece of cake for them to join any of those god emperor level forces. So why did they have to join the Tianlong clan? As the saying goes, one would rather be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix. However, it had to be known that if they joined the Tianlong clan, they would be the chicken head. However, if they went to the other peak god emperor level forces, they would not have to be the phoenix tail. With their talents, even if they were to be placed in a few peak emperor god level powerhouses, they would still be considered top-notch, especially Duan Lingtian. Even among the few peak emperor god level powerhouses, he was a top-notch existence. He was not even 3,000 years old. The matter of the Emperor War has already been decided. You all don't have to rely on luck anymore. Luo Qijian continued, his tone incomparably resolute. All along, our Greater One sect, compared to the Tianlong clan, to a certain extent, has fallen into a lower position. The last time the Tianlong clan had an Emperor God expert was 20,000 years ago. But what about our Greater One sect? That was 50,000 years ago. That year, the Tianlong clan's Emperor God expert was also born in the Emperor War. But our Greater One sect has not launched an Emperor War for tens of thousands of years. We have also rejected more than 10 Emperor War challenges. This time, the appearance of the Tianlong clan's inner sect disciples Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiandu could only be considered as a fuse for our Greater One sect to launch the Emperor War. It was not entirely because of them. It's time for our Greater One sect to fight. You all have enjoyed the benefits of the sect for so many years. Now, it's time for you to stand up and fight for Greater One sect, and strive to bring Greater One sect to the next level. Moreover, this time, the Tianlong clan's Divine King Realm disciples, as well as monstrous talents like Duan Lingtian and Hua Tiandu. When the Emperor War begins, the two of them cannot avoid it. Once they do, their hearts will be shaken. In the future, no matter how talented they are, if they want to become Emperor Gods, they will have to face layers of inner demons. And if the Divine King disciples of our Greater One sect can defeat or even kill those two geniuses in the Emperor battle, their hearts will be filled with an indomitable will. Even if we don't produce an Emperor God expert in this Emperor battle, they will have a higher chance of stepping into the Emperor God realm in the future. Moreover, it's not only our Greater One sect that is exhausting our resources in the Emperor War. Even the Tianlong clan is exhausting their resources. What are you all afraid of? Use your brains and think carefully. If your participation in the Emperor War allows Greater One sect to produce an Emperor God expert, how proud will you all be? How proud will your juniors be? Your names will be engraved on the Emperor War tablet of the sect, and your names will go down in history. After Luo Qijian finished speaking, there was a moment of silence in the meeting hall. After a while, many people spoke up in agreement. Elder Luo, I support the Emperor War. Elder Luo, Sect Master, it's time for Greater One sect to change. After so many years of peace, our spirit has been worn down. The strong are respected, and this is all about fighting. After the Emperor War, our Greater One sect may really produce an Emperor God expert. The several Grand Elders are all well-known figures among the Upper Divine Emperors. They are only a step away from the God Emperor realm. In this war of emperors, even if only one of the Grand Elders becomes a God Emperor, our Greater One sect will still benefit. Elder Luo, you are so supportive of the Emperor War this time. The heart of the strong is indomitable. It's very likely that you will break through and become an Emperor God. At this moment, many of the Greater One sect's upper echelons in the meeting hall were affected by Luo Qijian's words. As for those who opposed the Emperor War before, they were silent now, because they could see that this matter was already decided. If they continued to oppose, other than making Elder Luo and the sect master feel bad for them, there was no other use. Forget it. Emperor War it is. As long as we are careful, we may not die. They comforted themselves in their hearts. Tomorrow, I will personally lead a team to the Tianlong clan. and officially declare the Emperor war to the Tianlong clan. At this time, the Greater One Sect Master said loudly, his eyes resolute, "As long as the Tianlong clan agrees, when the procedures of the top Emperor God forces in Tongling province are completed, the date of the Emperor war will be confirmed. If there are no accidents, the Emperor war will begin in at most 3 years." Following the Greater One Sect's decision, the next day, the Greater One Sect Master personally led a few people to the Tianlong clan to officially declare the Emperor war to the Tianlong clan. The Tianlong clan's upper echelons were also surprised by the Greater One Sect's initiative to declare the Emperor war. Because in the past, the Tianlong clan had declared the Emperor war to the Greater One Sect more than once, but they were always rejected. In their eyes, the Greater One Sect's people had long lost the backbone that an Emperor God force should have. If it weren't for the fact that they didn't have a better choice, they would have already found another Emperor God force to declare the Emperor war. What do you all think? After arranging for the Greater One Sect Master and the others to rest temporarily, the Tianlong clan's upper echelons gathered together. Among them, the Golden Dragon Elders with the highest status in the Tianlong clan were also present. The Golden Dragon Elders of the Tianlong clan, like the Greater One Sect's Grand Elders, were existences who had half a foot in the God Emperor realm. In the past, the Tianlong clan had repeatedly declared the Emperor war to the Greater One Sect in the hopes that one of them would break through to the God Emperor realm through the Emperor war. That way, the Tianlong clan would regain its former glory. In the realms of gods, there was a huge difference between having a God Emperor and not having a God Emperor in a realm of gods. Not to mention other things, just take the current situation as an example. In the area around the Tianlong clan, there was another God Emperor realm force, the Greater One Sect. Once the Tianlong clan produced a God Emperor, they would surpass the Greater One Sect in one fell swoop. According to the ancient rules of Tongling province, the Tianlong clan that produced a God Emperor would further expand their territory. As for the Greater One Sect, because they were close to the Tianlong clan, they could only move away when the Tianlong clan's territory expanded. Otherwise, the Tianlong clan's new God Emperor would have every reason to attack them. Sect Master. In response to the Tianlong clan's Sect Master's question, Xuemingji, the Vice Sect Master, took the initiative to speak first. "What I mean is, there's no need to rush. Let's first investigate why the Greater One Sect suddenly changed their mind and declared the Emperor war to us. I have a feeling that the cowardly Greater One Sect suddenly declared the Emperor war to us because there's a secret we don't know about," Xuemingji said cautiously. In the Tianlong clan, Xuemingji, the Vice Sect Master, belonged to the conservative faction. Even when the Tianlong clan declared the Emperor war to the Greater One Sect in the past, he did not agree with it. However, most of the Tianlong clan's higher-ups were warmongers who supported the Emperor war. Even though he was the Vice Sect Master of the Tianlong clan, his words carried little weight. Of course, the most important thing was that the several Golden Dragon Elders of the Tianlong clan dreamed of breaking through to become God Emperors and insisted on the Emperor war. The reason for this was that the two Golden Dragon Elders of the Tianlong clan were under a lot of pressure from the recent 1,000-year heavenly tribulations. If they did not break through, they all felt that their lifespan would be in the next few thousand years. Under such circumstances, the Emperor war became their only choice. In a life-and-death struggle, in a battle between two God Emperors, they felt the pressure and forced themselves to break through. Xuemingji, a Golden Dragon Elder of the Tianlong clan, glared fiercely at Xuemingji, the Vice Sect Master of the Tianlong clan. The Greater One Sect took the initiative to declare the Emperor war. If the sect misses this opportunity because of you, this old man will not forgive you. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.